spiral staircase to our room. I fear you'd agree with them if you were. You sell yourself too short, I said as we reached our room and Jim unlocked the door. You're a good guy. You didn't have to do any of this shit for me, yet you did. I still don't understand it. I'm extremely attracted to you like no other woman I've ever known, he said. He was getting too serious, and I felt like the next words out of his mouth were going to fuck up the night ahead. I reached for his face after he closed the doors behind us. I want to watch your expression when I fuck you and bring you over the edge. I want to see your expression just the same as you've been fixated on watching me come. His face turned into a smile. I'm all yours. I want it on a blanket, I said, and on the floor in front of that fireplace. He brushed his lips over mine. I only hope my expression lives up to this fantasy of yours. I have a feeling it will. I was in heaven. My pussy clenched around Jim's cock, but damn it, if I couldn't bury all of him in me. The guy was fucking huge, and I was still being broken back in. That's what I guess anyway. His body was perfect, and I loved watching his rigid and perfect muscles flex as I rode him. I loved his groans, but I'd never seen his face at his climax. He always seemed to bury his cock deep and then his face in my neck. Not that I didn't love that shit, his sensual kisses while he slowly pumped into me while coming off the orgasm high. Even so, after all these interludes, the one thing I never saw was Jim's face. I knew he had to look even sexier than this look of holding back, this painful yet satisfied look of being fucked. But I wanted to see it all. Fuck. I'm close. Come inside me, Jim, I urged, rotating my hips on him, his thumb massaging my clit with slow and perfect pressure. He'd learned how to manipulate it in a way that sent me over the top, and he knew it. I pulled his hand away when I felt the energy release from my spine and rush down to my pussy. Fuck me. God damn, I love riding your huge cock, I said while my release came hard and fast. Tell me you're coming in me. I was breathless, still feeling my orgasm clamping down on his dick that stretched my pussy with insane pleasure. Look at me, gorgeous, Jim said, sliding his hands from my tits and along my hips. He groped me and pumped his dick harder. I leaned over on his strong chest while his hands went to my ass. I gripped his broad shoulders and watched his eyes fade into bliss. God, he was motherfucking sexy right now. Jim pressed down on my lower back, all while he thrust himself deeper into me. A sexy grunt of pleasure erupted from him. I watched Jim's beautiful emerald eyes while he slowly closed and reopened them with each smooth thrust of his cock into me. His eyes returned to mine, and for the first time since meeting Jim, I saw where the man was truly and wholly, for this moment, at my mercy. Come in me, Jim, I whispered. Fuck. He exhaled, eyes rolling back. He bit into his lip, lifted his chin, and pushed his head back into the pillow. You're so damn tight, he whispered while pumping harder and gripping my ass as he worked to come inside me. Your pussy is... He stopped, licking his lips. I watched his upper body flex every last muscle, his mouth fall open in ecstasy, and then exhale the last of his orgasm of pleasure. Damn, he was more handsome than ever right now. His dazed eyes returned to mine as my breathing picked up, another smaller orgasm rippling through me. Your pussy is pulsating around my cock. It feels amazing. He and I both collapsed. You're the sexiest man alive, I said, molding my body on his chest, looking over into the flames in the fireplace we were lying next to. I felt him kiss the top of my head while pulling my hair off of my sweaty back. You're a wild cat, gorgeous. I've never just laid on my back and came like that in a woman. Oh, I smiled. A first. How did it feel? Strange, but amazing to give that to you. I felt his hand stop rubbing my back, and he held me. I don't give up control like that in any part of my life. He smirked. But I just gave that control to you. Jesus Christ, you're fucking amazing. I'll take the compliment, I said. We're going to have to trade off, watching each other climax like that. He brought my face into his hands and kissed my lips. My God, what are you doing to me? I'd like to ask the same about you. Let's go soak in that tub. What do you say? I say if I'm not careful, we're most likely going to fuck there too. Is that another sexual thing you're afraid of? He sat up, bringing me with him. He locked eyes with me. I don't fear shit. Nothing. I do, however, have my reasons for certain things. Fucking in a bathtub would merely be another first for me, but not crossing a line sexually for things I will and will not do. I eased myself off of him. You're a hard nut to crack sometimes. Perhaps you don't want to crack this nut, he smiled. Instead, you can just bust. No! I held my hand up with a laugh. Don't fucking say it. Bust a nut? I exhaled. Go run the bath before you destroy my image of you coming with your cheesy phrases. I watched his tight ass cross the room after a quick kiss to my lips. There was something up with him and his sexual preferences. It wasn't that he didn't like them. There was no fucking way that was the case. I followed him in, looking at his perfect posture while feeling the warmth of the water in the large clawfoot tub. This man was a sex god. He'd proved that at his home and the 3 other rounds we had here today. He did everything that would make any woman climb the walls wanting more, but he had his limits. It's partially the reason I wanted to watch the man come. I wanted to see him climax and watch the beautiful beast of a sex god give me his most vulnerable side. I have no idea why, but I did. I wanted more now. Jim was a challenge, and it was beyond fucking weird that I would press for more or treat him like we were on a honeymoon. He was a kind and caring man. He took an interest in me, and he fucked like a king. He was all of that, but something hid behind all of this. It probably was me blowing things out of proportion because we didn't honestly know each other. Did I want more from him, though? Was he the kind of guy I could introduce to my daughter and trust him never to hurt us as her dad did? Those were the tough questions, the deep questions. I wasn't sure if I was ready to ask those or just live out this week and look back one day and thank God I met this man and enjoyed a week in England's countryside with him. That was the road we were on. Enjoy the week and be okay separating, yet holding on to fun memories. That's why I had to be careful. This man was becoming my dream guy who was saving me from a world that was nothing but cruel to me. A world that treated me like trash and made me feel even worse sometimes. I knew I deserved better, and what Jim was giving me was what I deserved, but was Jim a guy who could fall in love with a girl like me? I had hardcore baggage. I had severe issues with my druggy ex alone, and part of me never wanted to bring anyone into the world of shit I'd gotten myself into. Fuck it. I was going to enjoy this bath. I slid in and reclined against Jim, and he started massaging my body and kissing my ear. This was the first time I felt him adoring my body as if it were his to cherish. His hands were gentle, and his kisses seemed meaningful. Then he said the words, God, I never want to let you go, Avery. Chapter 12. Avery. The stay at Thornbury had me over the top with its Tudor dynasty histories, and I was obsessed more than ever with King Henry and Anne Boleyn. I didn't care, though. I was having a blast. Jim and I traveled through the countryside on our way back, laughing and teasing each other, and it seemed that we'd easily fallen into some exciting, should I even curse myself with the word, relationship. As hard as I was pushing back the stirring feelings that I had been slowly developing, part of me wanted to think I didn't have to. Why the hell couldn't I have my cake and eat it too? I deserved someone good in my life, and I knew I wasn't the only one feeling what was happening between us. Jim felt the same. I could see it in his eyes and felt it in his touch and kiss. It wasn't just me conjuring some wishful dream to come true, right? Was I fooling myself? Was this too much too fast? I woke up at 5 and all of these thoughts were on a loop in my head. I needed to get out and take a nice long run. That would help me get my head straight. I wasn't surprised Jim wasn't in bed. It was about an hour ago that a text came through and he'd had to wake up and deal with it. So I got up and put on my running clothes and shoes before I ran downstairs to let him know I was heading out. I already told you that it's none of your fucking business, I heard Jim say from inside his office. Can we get off the girl I'm with and back on topic? I sent my corrections after going through the issues. Okay, I'm just saying that you sound like you're breaking all your Jimmy doesn't commit rules. I heard the man tease him. I stood, frozen, in the corridor outside his office door. Something told me that I wasn't going to like what Jim had to say to whoever was on speakerphone. I wasn't the type to eavesdrop, and I really had no idea why I was starting now. But here I was. I'm not breaking shit, Jim said, his voice seemingly arrogant and unashamed. Fuck it. Maybe I have, but... But? The man laughed. Did Jimmy finally have oral sex? Have we made it to second? Wait, is it third base? Fuck you, Jacob, he said. Is that any way to talk to your brother after everything I've been doing to help Colin with your demands for this film? Listen, there is no commitment. Henry VIII? Glad that made it to your highlights for the night. Imagine my surprise to find out you're taking time off at all, man. Then I find out you have some chick at Adelaide and you're researching England's monarchy? I had no idea what the fuck to believe. A body snatcher could have gotten to you for all I know. It's nothing. It's a fucking fling, Jim snapped. Once I get back to the States, I'll handle all the shit I let slip through the cracks while I enjoyed a little time off. It's okay to fucking let yourself go. I'm glad for you. My big brother is always taking care of everyone except himself. Yeah, well, maybe that's what I'm doing here too, Jim said. Because it's sure as hell not like me to shut it off and do these sorts of things. You guys are always telling me I'm picking up charity cases. You ever stop to think we're just giving your sorry ass a hard time? Jacob, he said to who I understood was his brother. There is no relationship. There is no commitment. It's a nice week with a hot chick I met on the plane. She's got her own shit to work out, trust me. And fuck you for nosing into my sex life and bringing up oral fucking sex in the first place. I don't do that shit unless I'm in a relationship I know will last. I covered my mouth and turned to run up the steps quietly. Fuck. My heart and stomach sank. Why? Fucking why? I'd never felt more naive in all my life. Here I was, minutes ago, trying to convince myself that this man felt the same way I did. I tried to justify play acting as though we were a couple, and we shared the same feelings. I couldn't have been more wrong. It was a slap across the face and a harsh reminder that I wasn't the type of girl who got a happy ending. Avery, I heard Jim call as soon as I reached the top step. You're awake? I'm wide awake now, I said as I spun around, furious at him, but angrier at myself for letting my emotions get the best of me. Looks like you're heading out for a run. I'll join you. You know what? I started as calmly as my temper would allow. I'm going to be honest with you and get this all out. I heard you speaking to your brother just now. Shit. I watched the man run a hand through his hair, and for the first time, Mr. I don't fear shit looked a bit scared. Avery, half of that shit. Save it, I said, holding up my hand. I couldn't listen to any possible excuse that would make what he said okay. You were dead on. I was the dumbass single mom who let myself get caught up in a fantasy. We both know this isn't real. I knew that, and I was too swept away to notice the fucking red flags you were throwing up for me. Oral fucking sex. I laughed and shook my head. Of course. That's why you weren't into that shit. You assume it's too intimate. Avery, it's not like that. Really? I cocked my head to the side. Then what's it like, Jim? I do really like you. I like you too, Jim, but it's best to end this now before things do go in a direction where you're in some fucked up position to feel like you need to commit to me. I've got a little girl depending on me to make better decisions in my life than going off alone with some goddamn stranger and fucking him all over his house. Games are done, and I need to get the hell out of here. I appreciate everything. You did give me memories to bring home from my trip to London. Oh shit, I felt tears bubbling up. I'll always be grateful to you for that. You don't need to leave, he said, his voice low. Shit, I'm so fucking sorry. I'm just confused. I smiled, feeling tears of sadness for me and, strangely, for him too. There's nothing to be confused about. I need to go, and you obviously need to start being more present with your job. I'll send for a driver and be out today. My driver will take you. I don't need your help, I said, more bitterly than I should have. I don't need anyone's fucking help. I'll find my way out of here on my own. I've crawled out of a lot of worse places than a beautiful museum in England's countryside. Please, drivers can be... I said I'd handle it. His phone rang. You should get that. Thank you. The tears were at bay, and thank God they never surfaced. I mean that. You helped me shut out the noise for long enough. I needed the distraction. I feel the same about you. Then we helped each other. We each know that even if somehow, in a perfect world, we wanted this to work, it's like you said at that castle. We aren't married, and we aren't on our honeymoon. I think that's the most confusing part. We pretended too much, don't you think? We acted like all of this was more than what it was. And what was that? Jim's darker voice surfaced. What was it, Avery? It was a facade that we both played into. It was fun. It was a distraction. That's all it fucking was. It was more than that. No, Jim, I said. It wasn't. I heard enough of your conversation to know that. You also didn't hear the entire phone call, Avery. Did I need to? Was there more evidence of reasoning as to why you can't commit to the chick you met on a plane who has issues to figure out? Fuck me. Already did that, I said, and turned to pack it up, pull it together, and get the fuck out.
Chapter 13. Jim. Oscar Wilde once said, "We are each our own devil, and we make this world our own hell." He was right. I had created my demons a long time ago. When my father died, I became the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I focused on ensuring my father's legacy never fell. I loved my father dearly. He was the only one who made sure Jacob and I were shielded from our addict mother, but I wanted to do better than he did. I was old enough to remember my mother's selfishness and neglect, and from a young age I promised myself I would never be like my dad, chasing around a woman who inflicted maximum damage everywhere she went. I would never put my family through that. I often wondered how my father got himself into that position in the first place. Certainly he didn't show up at the nearest insane asylum and pluck her out of the bunch. Something had to have happened for him not to realize the woman he loved was the same kind of woman who would cheat on him and lock her sons outside in the cold, just to name a few significant offenses. I wasn't going to pretend that my mother wasn't the reason for my commitment issues. Anyone within a 1,000-mile radius of me could point that out. I hated the woman for it too. The damage she inflicted on me and my father was immense. Luckily, Jacob couldn't remember most of it, but she still robbed him of having a mother, whether or not he could remember the bad stuff. I'd never minded the personal hell that my devils had created for me until now. I saw the look in Avery's eyes after she'd heard my phone conversation. I hurt her, and I lost her. I'd led her on, trying to hang on to the first authentic woman I'd ever met who could be worth my trust and more than just casual sex. I'd been guarded for so long that I didn't know if a commitment to Avery would work. One thing was certain. She had a massive effect on me. She was different. I never once heard her mention my wealth or pry into my business other than noticing how chained to work I was. Every other woman I'd encountered inside or outside the office saw a wealthy CEO and treated me as such. When I thought back to my pursuit of Avery, I realized all it took to win the woman over was food, not money. It was so much more than that, though. Without even trying, she proved she wasn't the type of woman I should be afraid of committing to. She wouldn't be the type to hurt me as my mother had. I knew that because she was fighting the same battle my father had fought when he was trying to keep his sons from his druggy ex. She was living the same life he did. Even with all of this knowledge, I couldn't manage to keep my particular demons from ruining it all for me. I destroyed what was probably my only real chance at happiness. Call me crazy, but something about her sang to me from the first time I laid eyes on her, and that was a fact I couldn't look away from, no matter what the reasons for subconsciously blowing it all up. Had she overheard half the conversation between my prying brother and me, and then figured out I was a piece of shit for not wanting more than sex? Yes. Half of that conversation was enough to let her see the asshole I truly was. Maybe that's why I let her walk out the door without any further explanation. The worst fucking part was when she left. She hugged me and thanked me with all sincerity. She held nothing against me. She only realized what I thought I knew at the time. It was never supposed to be anything more than us enjoying each other's company for a little while. So why couldn't I let it go? The weight of regret that hung around my neck was suffocating. Fucking hell, I muttered at my desk while I rubbed my forehead. Focus, Jim. Damn it. I sat up and stared intently at the spreadsheet in front of me. I needed to straighten things up with this fucking gaming company. I was not in the mood to deal with this shit today, and that's precisely what this was. Bull fucking shit. I'd finally agreed to meet with Julia and the woman's college-aged husband today. I'd put their asses off long enough, and now it was time to face the bitch and listen to her stupid-as-fuck demands. A fun bonus? She was bringing fucking lawyers with her. I had already handled Greg with Dunlap & Son as soon as I got back. It didn't take much convincing to let them know the millions of dollars they'd lose with the 3 companies Mitchell & Associates owned, and if they left us, they lost that investment too. So for Greg to keep his cheap-ass Rolex and all the fun toys that went along with being one of the world's youngest multimillionaires, he'd be dumber than he looked if he left Mitchell and tried another company. He was only doing this because his sister called crying after I refused to fuck her. Thank God she brought her husband and lawyers, because the double doors to my office were never going to welcome her ass in through them again. I stepped into the elevator and hit the button to get me down to the 10th floor. That was the floor where we had the largest conference room available to entertain 2 assholes, a manipulative witch, and their army of lawyers. I walked past the glass, seeing dark suits and one shrew served up ripe and ready in a red dress of all colors. To my left, heads were popping up and then ducking after I made eye contact with them. Shit, right. Expression. I must have looked like I was going to fire the whole goddamn floor. I let out a breath and relaxed before walking into the room. Janice, darken the windows to give us our privacy from the others on the floor, please. Absolutely, Mr. Mitchell. An exasperated sigh came from Julia, staring at me while sitting upright like this battle was already won. You'd think your staff would have given us the privacy we needed when we first walked in, since you've kept us waiting for 15 minutes, not to mention the additional 2 weeks since your return from London. Janice, send for Alex, please, and you may leave, I said, looking down at the portfolio she'd prepared for me. It took only a cursory glance for me to determine this was going to be over a lot sooner than anticipated. This whole thing was a waste of my time, and if I wanted to waste my time, I'd be scouring the United States for Avery. All that time with her, and I never even asked where she lived. Good God, why pine over something I'd fucked up from the beginning? Just Alex, Julia answered. What happened to your acquisitions team? I leveled her with a stare that Avery informed me was my scorched earth look. There is no need to waste their time. Alex requested to be present, or I wouldn't be wasting his time either. Fuck, Jim. Lawyers are present. Watch your fucking words. Allow me to rephrase that. I mustered a smile. The acquisitions team is not available at the moment as they are working with another partner. Alex will be here shortly. And the powerful executive caves under the pressure of the lawyers, she snapped. The last time we spoke, I looked at the tall, lanky, overgrown child wearing his comic book shirt, sitting between Julia and his gaming company partner. You and your associate requested that we refer to you with first names only. Is that still what you prefer? Brad is my husband, Julia said before the blonde-haired guy spoke up. Jesus Christ, he and his buddy looked like they'd just rolled out of bed. How could she take this shit stain seriously? He and I are Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Very well, Mr. Jones. I looked at his annoyed expression. That is what you'd like to be called, correct? Actually, Brad is just whipped, the other bedhead spoke. We're fine with you calling us Mark and Brad. Remember who bankrolls your stuff, Julia. He said her name as if he resented the fuck out of her. I guess I had more in common with these doofuses than I thought. I pinched my lips together and closed my eyes at the mismatched pair, and I wished with all my heart that we could be recording this shit for Colin and Jacob to see with their own eyes. Alex walked in just in time. All right, 5 minutes early. Let's get this meeting going. Brad, Mark, Alex acknowledged them as he sat to my right. Julia, he finished in a dry voice. Getting directly to the point, I said before Julia could respond to my vice president and best friend. Your company desires to withdraw from Mitchell & Associates investment. At first I thought this was a joke, but here we are. We've changed our minds about that, both gamers said in unison. What? Don't listen to them, they're children. Julia clamped her mouth as soon as she admitted what she thought of her husband. The shock on Julia's face was priceless. These goofy little sons of bitches had amused her. I officially wished we had this exchange on tape now. Judging from the look on their faces, I had a feeling this was going to be fantastic. Children? Alex said, clasping his hands and stretching them out on the desk. That is quite a bold statement, considering your marriage and their wealth. If you've changed your mind, may I ask why we're in the presence of your lawyers? I asked. Yeah, Jules. Maybe we can use them so Brad can get that divorce from your gold-digging ass. Mark cut off Brad by glaring at him with a look that was mixed with fear and confusion. What a bunch of dipshits. I'm not trying to be rude, I started. But can we not bring personal matters into the business at hand? As much as I loved what was happening to humiliate Julia, I wasn't one to fuck around when it came to business. This unprofessionalism was wildly inappropriate, and it was ultimately affecting my business. And that I would not tolerate. Now, Mitchell & Associates are willing to grant you your exit from our company. We are sad. Dude, come on. Mr. Mitchell, Brad said, elbowing Julia as she tried to stop him. We can't lose you guys. If we lose your company, we lose the largest sponsors out there. I understand that. It is why I was genuinely confused about why you were leaving. We were covering all of your public relations and your marketing as well as all advertising for you. We were also pitching you to even more investors and pushing you out further to more of the online gaming community. Due to our efforts, the gaming community has now taken more of an interest in your product as well. We believed when we reached this agreement, Alex said as I watched Julia squirm next to her man-child, that it would help not only gain you money, but you would also be able to work on development with our hired staff. The building we just acquired for you to work with. We don't want out, goddammit. Mark slammed his fists on the table and stared at Julia. Tell us what we need to do to make this right. Our offer was pulled after your letter of rejection, so we must draw up a new one, I said, eyeing Julia. Mitchell will offer $500,000 as an advance now to start. We will also keep the same agreements with investors, etc. After the advance, we expect 70% in earnings for Nights Aware. Will this work? Alex looked at me with some fear. This was a bullshit offer, an insult, really, to these two. An advance? No one took advances, and Mitchell and Associates never gave them. It was a goddamn joke, and I couldn't give a shit. They insulted my company and had the nerve to cross me. "We'll take it," Brad said. "Damn it, Brad," Julia snapped. "Can I speak for a moment?" "No, you're the one who told us to back out," Mark said. "Well, who the hell told you it was a great idea to take an insult for an offer to come back? We're here for more money, last I checked," Julia argued back. "Greg told us we were stupid for pulling out," Brad said. Julia rose in a fluster while I covered my mouth, trying to keep my shit together. Nothing had ever happened in this room that had given me more pleasure than this entire exchange. "I'm so done with both of you." She seemed to have hit a level of outrage that was reserved for 50-year-old men who were stuck in traffic. "My brother told you that? After he spoke with Mr. Mitchell and decided not to pull your family from investing in this company, he said to stop listening to you. You're costing us money, Julia." "What the hell?" she said, and I watched the woman almost melt where she stood. "You know my brother stole my family's company from me. Why would you speak to him behind my back?" "Again," I said, "personal matters aside. Do you agree to our terms?" "Yes," both gamers said at the same time. "Alex, have Alicia drop the new contracts. I'll sign them this evening." I stood. "Thank you, gentlemen. Good day." I walked out of the office while Alex dialed Alicia to print up the new agreements. "James," I heard Julia snarl from behind me. I kept walking. There was no way in hell this nut was going off on me on this floor and in front of half of my employees that I'd never met. "What?" I said, jerking my elbow from her as I quickly stepped into the elevator with her on my heels. "What the hell was that?" "What are you doing?" I hit the button to take us to the lobby level. "And why are you following me after trying to fuck my business over? Should have thought that shit through, Julia." "This is crazy," she said. "This is crazy?" I questioned. "You have gone off the fucking edge. Was this because I wanted nothing to do with you as a married woman?" "No, I have no idea. You disappeared on me all week in London." The elevators opened, and I stepped out, Julia following me. "You may wait here for your husband. I believe you're finished." "I'm not even close to being finished with you," she said. "I believe you played your best hand, but please, be my damn guest in trying to finish me, Julia. Will that still be Mrs. Julia Jones or the former Mrs. Julia Jones? Best to go beg for your husband back." "Why? Because he wouldn't listen to me? You gave him a bullshit offer and you know it. You offered him less than half of what your team offered the first time. Really? And now a shitty advance for him to sign with you? What the hell?" "The new terms are with your team of lawyers if you'd like to go read what your husband is signing for your future." I glared at her. "You're a bastard, Jim," she lashed out. "And here I believed myself to be a fine ex of yours who escorted you off my upper floors and directed you to the exits personally." "This is the end of us. You know that, right?" Jesus, she's all over the place. "I understand completely." I stepped back into the elevator, leaving her staring, mouth agape, as I hit the button to bring me to my office on the top floor. I was elated to be rid of her, and was now even more motivated to find the one woman I couldn't shake. If only there were second chances. If only life were that kind.
Chapter 14. Avery. I came to pick up Addison from her preschool, and I smiled when she held up her artwork while waiting impatiently in her class line for parents to greet the teacher and check out their children. I gave her 2 thumbs up, watching her small group of friends laughing and giggling at my daughter's enthusiasm. "Thank you, Janine," I said when Addie jumped up into my arms. "Was she on good behavior today?" "Always," the young teacher said. "See you on Monday, Addison."
"Bye, Miss Janine,"
Addie said, hugging me tightly.
"Mama, I made it for you."
I took the finger-painted project and smiled at my daughter's multicolored, scribbled artwork on the course paper. "Wow, Addie, what is it?"
"Guess,"
she said in her sweet voice, trying to pique my curiosity by sounding mysterious.
"You have to always guess, Mama."
I let Addie down and held her hand after shouldering her pony backpack. Well, I said, walking swiftly toward our car to beat the parent pickup traffic. I think it's a beautiful picture of palm trees and the ocean.
No, silly,
she scoffed.
It's your castle that you played in.
My stomach tightened. I thought I could come home with memories and move the hell on from what I shared on my vacation with Jim. In fact, I did pretty fucking awesome. And that's why my daughter knew Mommy got to play in a castle in England. I shouldn't have been surprised that Addie held on to that. We'd built enough sand castles on our beach days for her to be excited that I stayed in a real one. Why did I have to remain emotionally attached to it all, though? I think it looks more like the sand castles we make at the beach, I said with a smile.
Can we go to the beach?
You get to go to Papa and Grandma's this weekend.
Ugh,
she said in annoyance.
I want to go to the beach.
You'll mind your manners, young lady, I said. Addie pointedly ignored me after that. The one thing she hated hearing out of my mouth were those words. I missed you today, Addie, I said, bringing her over to the beat-up Volkswagen Rabbit I owned. Poor car was barely hanging on to dear life.
I missed you, Mama.
I buckled her into her car seat, and we went for our usual Friday treat before I dropped her off across town at Derek's parents' house. Derek hadn't been on a bender for at least 2 months, and thank God for that. I didn't need his bullshit. We pulled into a drive-thru and got soft-serve ice cream cones to last the 15-minute drive across town. When we pulled down the street to where Larry and Annette lived, I saw a brand-new, lifted, full-size truck. Fucking asshole. I thought, knowing this dick still lived with his parents, didn't pay child support, and this was probably an underhanded move to try and beat me out for custody if we finally did make it past threats and into court.
That's Daddy's new truck,
Addie said. I gathered that, I answered, but immediately feigned excitement. I wasn't pulling Addie into my drama. I bet it's a lot of fun to ride in.
Daddy says it's $60 billion for it.
60 billion, eh? I said, getting out and pulling Addie out of her seat. Wow, I didn't know Daddy had that kind of money. Addie laughed.
Daddy says he bought it for me. It's big and fun.
Hey, Avery, Larry said. There's my baby girl. He squatted down and held his hands out to Addie.
I'm a big girl, Papa,
she exclaimed. Everything cool? I asked, wanting to get the fuck out of here. Then out came my ex. He looked like death warmed over. His face was swollen, his once muscular body was overweight and bloated, and his formerly tanned skin looked pasty, almost ashen. Hey, Dad, bring Addie in the house, he said, kissing our daughter on the head. We'll go get ice cream later. Addie didn't question her dad blowing her off. She happily went with her grandpa because the truth was that she hardly ever even saw this asshole. If he was at home, he slept all fucking day. How his parents hadn't kicked his ass out of their house yet, I'll never know. Addie only knew him as Daddy, and I could see by her lack of wanting to hang back and reunite with him since my sister dropped her off for his birthday last Friday. She didn't give a shit. She'd rather be with her papa. He was more of a dad to her anyway. He was also the only reason I played along with this custody arrangement. Like the truck? Derek asked. It's a truck. If it keeps Addie safe, then yes. It's also a nice way to bury yourself in debt while living with your parents. Do you always have to be a bitch to me? What do you want? Your daughter is here for exactly 48 hours and the clock is ticking on that. Who'd you fuck in London? He asked. What the fuck did you just ask me? You know what I asked. Brittany said you were off with some man whore in London. Who the hell was it? You lost the right to ask those questions after we broke up 2 years ago. I'm leaving. You bring shit like this up to Addie, and it'll be the last time I play nice, dropping her off. So you did fuck some stranger then. You're such a fucking slut, Avery. I'm not listening to this. That's always the easiest way out for you, isn't it? Well, I hope you left that baggage in London because I'll kick anyone's ass you bring around my daughter. Our daughter, asshole. And I think I can make those calls in my personal life without your drug-induced absent brain. Yeah, whatever, slut. That's how I left the asshole, once again. Now here I was, driving back to my apartment, my hands trembling, knowing that Derek was never going to let our relationship die. Ever. I called out to my phone and asked to call Derek's mom. Annette, I questioned once she answered. Avery, everything okay? Keep an eye on Derek, please. He's already flaring up over my trip to London. Don't let him around Addie, or just call me if he starts acting weird. Everything's fine. You know Derek? He gives you trouble because he knows he lost a good thing. I'm just saying it never ends well like this. We'll watch him. Besides, he's going out for some work party tonight. Wow. You can't be serious. He gets his daughter for a weekend and takes off on her? He's playing with her right now. Good. Father of the year. Bye. I hung up. Fucking liar. He's going out to get his fix tonight and get loaded. All he needed was to think I'd slept with someone to validate him going off the rails. At least his dad locked his ass out if he was like this. I hated being stuck with him, and I hated being paralyzed by my fear that the court would deem us both unfit and put her in the system. I pulled into the driveway and saw my sister's BMW. She popped out as soon as I parked in my designated space. The place was a shithole, but my OCD tendencies had my apartment so damn clean you wouldn't know it. From my unit, at least. I have good news, sis, she said. Excellent news. I need all the good news I can get. I just had to deal with Derek finding out I slept with that gym guy in London. Oh, God. She rolled her eyes. Well, I'm sure he's excited about that. My daughter is at that fucking house. If he loses his shit on drugs and booze over this, and Annette and Larry would call the cops if Addie were in danger. You know them well enough to know that. Just because they don't like that you left him and aren't trying to help him overcome his addiction doesn't mean they'll allow anything to happen to Addie. They adore that child. True. I exhaled. What's this news you have? Let's get inside. No offense, but I hate this neighborhood. Sorry that my rich sister wouldn't hire me into her blooming business. Shut up, she laughed. However, that's what this is about. You're hiring me? I questioned. No, she said. But the company that acquired mine is hiring. I just got out of a meeting, going over reports and shit, and on my way out, the head of their PR department, Stephanie, she uses my products, of course. She asked if I knew anyone who would be interested in being her administrative assistant. Where is this place? Isn't that company Mitchell Incorporated or whatever? Aren't they in downtown LA? Yes, she said as we walked into my studio. Listen, they have an advance they give to all their employees to help move them closer to the office. Their wages pay more than that company you work for. It's called Blessed Hearts Living, I said. Right, the convalescent home. You'll have 8 to 5 hours and... She pushed the paper across the desk. Starting pay for the position is $5,000 a month. What the living fuck? I answered. I don't have a degree to warrant this sort of pay. You don't need one. I talked to Stephanie already. She even said that they have a preschool and daycare there. It's for working parents. That's wonderful, I said. But Addie loves her school and friends. Avery. Brittany stared at me dryly. These offers don't come around all the time. Call me your fairy fucking godmother. The only reason I have this for you is that Stephanie is a friend and she hasn't posted the job publicly yet. Yet. Someone will take this position in a heartbeat for the on-site preschool alone, not to mention the fact that most people with 4-year degrees don't get paid this much. You have got to be out of your goddamn mind for even thinking of a reason you might not want this. She joined me on the couch. Listen, this is life-changing for you and Addie. I even looked up living costs. Torrance is closest, and it's the best deal for you. It's also farther away for when Derek goes on benders and shows up here. Which could be tonight, now that he knows I screwed Jim. I looked closer at the brochure that she handed me about this building, the company, and its CEO. Holy mother of fuck, I said in disillusionment. Pretty hot for a CEO, eh? I've never met him, though. I'm sure I'd fall apart then and there if I had. God, look at his... Britt, I said, stopping her as I pointed to the handsome man in the photo who was labeled the owner and CEO of this business. This is Jim. My Jim, from London. James Mitchell? She laughed. Like fuck. This is the guy you slept with for nearly a week? The guy who spoiled your ass? The very damn one. Her eyes widened. Get the fuck out of here. Do you know who that man is? I'm getting a clear-cut idea, and pretty quick. Jesus Christ. I guess I should have done the math on how important he was as a businessman. The security detail he had follow us out of London. The castle he owned as a vacation home. The suits, cars. It was all in front of my face, but I was too fascinated with him and not all the company bullshit he was chained to. Yeah, I can't work there. Not for him. The hell you can't, she said. You'll never see him anyway. Trust me, he works on the top floors. I haven't even met the guy, and he acquired my business. Are you sure? I'm not sure, but who cares if you see him again, she said. You both ended it, right? On bizarre fucking terms, I said. You need to do this for you and Addie, period. You haven't had an opportunity for a win like this in a long time. Take it. You're right. There are 2 massive skyscrapers that Mitchell and Associates own. His office is on the top floors of the Howard Tower, and like I said, even if you worked in the same building as he does, you'd never see him. The place is massive, like 60 or 70 floors. Hotels are on the lower levels with amenities like coffee shops, restaurants, and boutique stores. Shit like that to entertain international travelers. It's enormous, so you won't see him. Trust me, they have those buildings set up to entertain, and you'll be in a world of your own, on your own floor. You do see how gorgeous the man is, right? I asked. She laughed. God damn, do I ever. Now I really want to know what the sex was like. He was amazing. I smiled at the memory of seeing this face, laying back on the table, his look right before he came while I wrote him. All I can say was that the man I spent a few days with, I pointed at the picture, smiled a lot wider than this, and he didn't look like such an arrogant dick the entire time. Brittany covered her mouth. What if you see him again? We ended it, remember? You keep talking like that, and I won't take the job. Get the fuck over yourself. You're doing this for Addie. Now, housing is so hard to find, but there is a studio available. Let's go look at it. I'll cover the down payment, and we'll get the process underway. What if I don't get the fucking job? I already told Steph you're in. She trusts me, and I know you'll be a perfect fit. You're more than qualified for this anyway. There's no way I would let you pass this by. Stop trying to do shit for me, I growled. I'm helping you, Avery. Stop fighting people who want to help you. There's no weakness in saying yes. You have said more than once that you want out of this shithole and a job that could fucking pay the bills. This is a golden ticket and you know it. I slumped against the couch. Well, as long as you put the deposit down, you're out the money if I don't get the job. I pursed my lips. What am I doing there anyway? Mainly paperwork and computer shit. You'll probably be setting appointments for Stephanie and doing personal shit for her too. Easy stuff. Fine. Let's go look at this place in Torrance you're raving about. Chapter 15. Avery. I went out with Brittany and some of our mutual friends that night. We started with sushi, and then the celebration went on from there. Brittany had reached some crazy-ass milestone with her company, and Mitchell and Associates were now helping her to open her first store in some ritzy area with an outdoor shopping mall. If I was honest with myself, somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I'd always wanted my sister to bring me into her company. However, I figured that part of her still viewed me as the runaway who gave our mom hell when Jill fostered me, which is partly why I was surprised she'd name-dropped me to this Stephanie woman at all. "Hey," Brittany said, "you're not drinking." "4 shots aren't enough for you?" I smiled at her. "We have the party limo, and you're turning down a night where we can let loose?" "Come on, Avery," Sarah said. Sarah, the straight-up perfect wife, until she got away from her husband and kids and drank with the girls, of course. "You're normally leading the way." She's probably fantasizing about her new job over at Mitchell and Associates. My sister winked at me. "She fucked the CEO, you know." "Shut up," Michelle said. Our lawyer friend's eyes lit up as she choked on a cocktail. "Mr. Fortune 500? Mr. Sexy himself, James H. Mitchell, you fucked him?" "Yeah." Jim and I were pretty good at lying to people while screwing off together, so what was the harm in playing along when it was the truth? These girls were heading to blackout drunk. They wouldn't remember this anyway. "We fucked all over some castle in the middle of England's countryside." "Oh, God." Michelle rolled her eyes. "You almost had me, girls." She started dancing in place. "Let's go. I want to dance." Typically, I was the one to lead the pack in a fun night out, but tonight I felt off. I hated that Derek knew I'd been with another guy, not because I was afraid of him, but because I knew this shit would probably send him off the deep end. And he had my baby. "Britt," I spoke up over the music. "Why did you tell Derek about Jim and me?" I asked, the girls already on the dance floor. "Oh, Jesus," she said. "You're letting him ruin your night, aren't you?" "I don't like it when he gets pissed off like he did when my daughter is there." "Then why did you admit that you did when he asked you? Why did it even have to come up? Why do you always feel like you have to intervene in my goddamn life? Shit like this always stirs the pot with that asshole." "Sorry," she said, half drunk and half remorseful. "I guess I should have just told him you enjoyed touring the sites alone. You didn't need to tell him anything at all, but that version would have made my life a bit fucking easier. You need to find a way to cut his ass off. You say his parents enable him, but you also do. You don't see it, but you do." "I'm doing the best I can with what I have," I snapped. "If my daughter gets..." "We all know, Abe. If she gets thrown into the system like you, right? When are you going to stop lying to yourself and face this head-on for Addie? When I know for a fact that he won't bury me with his bullshit and lies? And what dirt does he have on you to do that with? The fact that I have a DUI on my record and jail time for that shit. I was a runaway. The fact I did drugs, too, and that's why I was stupid enough to get with him in the first place. He'll bring up all my history and paint me to look like the piece of shit he is." Britt rubbed her forehead. "If you get a good lawyer, you'll be fine. They'll see that it was all 6 or 7 fucking years ago." "Are you paying for the lawyer?" Michelle already made it clear that she wasn't getting involved, and she knows Addison. "Michelle is a bitch," Britt said. "And no, I'm not paying for your lawyer. I paid to retain one for you already, and you fell for Derek's bullshit and trusted his stupid ass again. Never used the lawyer after he manipulated you the last time." "Fuck this," I said, shouldering my purse. "Listen, thanks for the job offer, but I'm out of here. Tell your friend that I'm happy where I'm at." "Don't do this, Avery," she said, stopping me from leaving. "Take the job. Take it for Addie." Throwing that back in my face again? When you get pissed like this, someone has to help you see things clearly. Well, I'm half drunk and fucking pissed. I'm going home. I need to cool off. I turned to leave, and there he was. So, I get our daughter, and you go out looking for someone to fuck tonight? Get out of my way, Derek, I said, glaring back at Brittany. You smell disgusting. Drinking pills and smoking the good stuff again, dirtbag? I've got your stupid ass doing it on video. He slurred his words. Tell me you narrated it, because you sound like you belong in a hospital. What the fuck? How did you know I was here? He waved his phone at me. Cell tracker genius. You're still on my plan. Couldn't track you in London because you went international and Britt gave you another phone, but I knew you'd be out looking for your fix tonight. I thrust my phone in his chest. Take the fucking phone. You offered this for me to stay in touch with our daughter. Now I think I'll find a different phone. I looked at Brittany. Forget about what I said earlier. I'm taking that position and I'm getting the fuck out of this godforsaken town. A week later, and my interviews were out of the way. I was officially in as Stephanie's assistant at the company whose CEO I'd screwed like a wild woman, and today was my first day. I even used my iron and ironing board for the first time in a year when I had to get the wrinkles out of all of my pencil skirts and button-down shirts. Stephanie's office walls were lined with magazine covers where the company had been featured, all of which had Jim's face plastered on them. If I was honest, I only recognized the sexy black wavy hair, the emerald eyes, and that scorched earth look in his photos. That was it. These magazines didn't do much to bring up happy memories of the times I'd shared with Jim, the man I'd had a blast with in London. Addie was set to finish out the week at school, and we were going to be moving into our new place, the studio Britt showed me, over the weekend. Everything was in place, and Addie would be coming to work with me next week. I was feeling a lot of pressure fading just by moving this far from Derek. I'd like to see that asshole make it past security and come in here throwing a raging fit. Cameras were planted everywhere, and for a good reason, too. The place was fancy as fuck. I was going to be working on the 12th floor, and that helped me feel more protected. I would get my own cell phone with my first paycheck, and I was sucking it up with that one in the meantime. It wasn't as hard for me to do as it might be others. I'd lived without one for almost all my life, and I'd rather take my chances with my POS car breaking down and leaving me stranded than having Derek stalking me on the other phone. He had no idea where I worked, where my new apartment was, and I finally felt free of the abusive relationship. There. I fucking said it. Abusive relationship. Would Derek be out of my life forever? Not likely, but at least he couldn't stalk my ass anymore. One step at a time. My desk phone rang, and I ran my clammy hands over my neatly pressed skirt before I picked up the phone. This is Avery with Mitchell & Associates, Public Relations Department. Hey, sis, Brittany said. I just wanted to make sure I could reach you. How do you like the job? It's fine so far. I've been answering phones and directing calls to others on this floor, and stuff I can't handle goes to Steph. Sounds adventurous, she chuckled. Listen, I just wanted you to know that Derek's trying to pressure us into telling him where you're moving and the new job. Pressure? Why is there any pressure? I asked, almost growled from my desk. I lowered my voice. We went over this. Unless he holds a gun to your head, he gets zero info. Understood? I know that. Does Mom know that? There's a reason I'm not telling Larry and Annette anything. I don't trust them. If I'm going to start over, it's not going to get fucked up. Chill out. Can people hear you? I glanced around, seeing my first fun coworker, Amir, smiling at me and shaking his head. He already met the foodie and sailor language woman in me today at lunch. He was so damn cool that I'd actually want to date his ass if his preference weren't for men only. Amir says hi. I smirked at him. He leaned back in his chair and raised an eyebrow at me. You need to play nice. Sounds like you've made a friend already, Brittany said. I looked over at Alyssa, whose jade eyes reminded me of some eye model or any model for that matter. The girl was gorgeous, and as usual, she was in LA to become an actress. She was super cool too. How I made friends so fast was beyond me, but I was genuinely happy about it. Maybe it was my fearlessly eating everything in sight, like I had done with Jim, that drew people to me. Hell if I knew. "Hey, sorry, but I've got to go," I said. "Stephanie's on her way over." "No problem. I'm glad things are going well. Talk later," Brittany said before she ended the call. The week went phenomenally well. I couldn't have asked for a smoother transition into a new job, a new life. Amir and Alyssa were sort of my new crew, and I caught all the gossip on the floor from them, which was more than I expected. I guess a lot of behind-the-scenes shit went on down here. There were 2 managers above Stephanie on our floor, but I hadn't had any encounters with them so far. They were stuffed away behind glass walls down the hall from my desk, where about 30 of us sat and did the grunt work for the bosses in the PR department of this company. Addie and I had officially moved into our new apartment, and it was her first day to come to work with me. I held Addie's hand, walking her into the daycare and preschool unit. "You excited?" I asked, seeing all the kids starting to take notice of Addie, who'd dressed herself this morning. "It's a big day with new friends," I said as a woman approached. "Can I help you two?" the gray-haired woman with a meticulous bun asked, while another younger, beautiful red-headed woman trailed her. "I'm here to bring my daughter in while I head up to work. Stephanie told me she was starting here this morning." "What's the child's name?" "The child's name is Addison Blake," I said. After a whirlwind of bullshit, me turning over Addie's birth certificate and all the other documents that came with enrollment, the woman refused my daughter. The sweet-looking younger redhead, she was a total bitch who helped escort us from the area. Addie looked up at me, confused, and I did my best to keep it together. "The only way to get you into class is to give you a little experience, kid," I said with a smile, thanking God that she didn't get her feelings hurt.
"Experience?"
She tried to say the word. "Yes," I said, punching the elevator button. "You need to learn a little bit about what Mommy does, and then you can go play with the rest of the kids and tell them what you learned about at work with Mommy." I wanted to cry. What the fuck was I supposed to do now? I pulled her out of a school with teachers and friends she loved. We were officially an hour away from that place now, and Stephanie had fucked me over by saying that I could just show up, and so long as I had my paperwork, Addie would be allowed in. Now there was no fucking room? We'll see what Steph thought about that while Addie worked on her floor as a damn distraction all day. "Hey," Amir said. "I bet you're Addison. You sure look like an Addison. Am I right?"
"Addie,"
she said, climbing into my seat.
"I have to learn work,"
she stated thoughtfully. I smiled at Amir's confused expression. "Apparently there's no room for extras. That would have been nice to know last week," I said. He frowned but kept his lips clamped while Addison looked at him. "Well, we can use your help here with us, Addie," he said. "Oh my God, she is your mini-me," Alyssa said, coming around in her tight-ass dress, long gorgeous legs and breasts threatening to spill out of it. "You're a doll."
"I'm not a doll. I'm a person,"
Addie corrected her. Alyssa looked at me and laughed. "She's got your strong personality too, huh?" "Yeah, and imagine 2 of us working up here together." Everything was moving smoothly until 3 in the afternoon. Amir had even gone out and found a coloring book and colored pencils to keep Addie occupied. Then Steph came onto the floor after being gone all morning. "In my office, please, Avery," she said, half smiling at Addie, who was sitting at my desk in a chair I'd rolled up next to mine. I followed her, knowing the woman was pissed. "Do you mind telling me why there is a child on this floor?" "You might want to ask the lady in the daycare admin department who rejected my kid," I said, annoyed that this was blowing back on me as if I was trying to get away with something. "You've got to be joking," she said, obviously irritated beyond belief that she had to deal with any of this. I wanted to say the same thing when they wouldn't allow Addie into their class. The last thing I wanted was to have my kid with me at my new job, but this completely blindsided me and I had no other option. I was under the impression that this wouldn't be an issue. I'll handle this. Just get back to work. Supervisors will be on the floor. I watched the woman scramble for her phone and try to work to fix the preschool problem. As I went back to work, I heard whispers and oh shits coming at me like friendly fire. I glanced around, trying to figure out what the hell was happening. It wasn't an earthquake. Addie was unaffected, scribbling on pages of a magazine, and I just shrugged it all off. That's when, from out of my peripheral, I saw a mob of suits. "Amir," I said, and he looked over. "Are the men in black here, or what?" "Just work," he mouthed. What the hell is happening? I rose while everyone ducked and stared at their computers as if to beg the machine to pull them physically into it. That's when I noticed the tallest man out of the group. The onyx-colored hair that hinted at the slightest natural curl, if not tamed. The hair I ran my hands through and gripped in utter ecstasy. Holy fucking shit. Our eyes met when he caught me staring at him in disbelief. Shit. I thought he never came down here. I broke eye contact with his emerald eyes after he gave me that look I thought I'd never see again. It wasn't a look that he was going to fuck me in every room in this building, but it was the look that he remembered fucking in every room in his castle. I looked around at everyone who was hiding from him and the army of suits trailing him. What the hell? Was he that terrifying? Did I get out of that fake relationship just in time? Why was everyone working like they were robots? I looked back at Jim, and his face recovered from the knowing grin and that glint in his eye that made me resist running out to him and holding the man who made me so happy in England. The dick look on his face now was that fucking scorched earth look. Was I supposed to sit in my chair as he conversed with his men in suits? Was this his fear the badass CEO look? What the hell ever. I sat down. I couldn't forget I had my kid here, and Steph was more than likely having a coronary attack, that Addie was here too. That's when Steph went to Jim, interrupting him from his power suit talk, and pointed in my direction. What a goddamn bitch, I thought, knowing she was ratting Addie and me out. Now here I was, watching Jim try and level me with that look I swore I never wanted to be on the other end of. Too bad that he was up against me, protecting my daughter, and I wasn't going to allow him to say shit about her being here. I feared fucking nothing when it came to protecting her, even this CEO, who was sexier than fuck with the look on his face, heading my way. Time to meet the bastard side of Jim head on, especially if he was kicking my daughter off the floor.
Chapter 16. Jim. For the first time in my entire life, there was one employee in my building who didn't hide or giggle to their coworkers while I was in the room. Except Alex, of course, but he didn't count. I know the usual expression I carried when I was in a room of employees that I'd never met nor intended to faded the moment she stood, and I saw those eyes that had never left my dreams. Those eyes that glossed over when she climaxed while riding me into ecstasy. I recovered whatever expression I held when our eyes locked and forced it all down. I missed this woman more than I imagined. Holy shit. She worked here? How long had she been working for me? Did she know who I was in London? There's no fucking way. She did roleplay well with me, though. Maybe she knew who I was the entire time. Then I saw something I never thought possible. On top of realizing Avery was working in my building and I never fucking knew it. I saw the black curls of a little girl who I assumed was her daughter Addie, and I pinched my lips together to hold back the humor of what in the hell could have transpired to make Avery bring her daughter to work in her cubicle with her. "Mr. Mitchell?" Perry, my senior manager on the public relations floor, caught me as soon as I spied the adorable child scribbling on a magazine, ironically the magazine that did an exclusive write-up on me and Mitchell and Associates. "I assure you that we do not allow children on the floor." I ignored Perry and went over to Avery's desk. Avery's eyes were fierce, and I knew why. She made it perfectly clear that no one fucked with her daughter. "It's fine, Perry," I said, moving toward where Avery was staring me down like a mother bear watching over her cub. I looked down at the magazine, which was written about my success as a young CEO of one of the largest companies in the nation. Addie wasn't aware of my approach, and I saw where she was intently scribbling over my face, and it was taking all I could not to laugh at how Avery must have loved her daughter doing so. "Is something wrong?" Avery asked. I didn't know how to respond to her. Shit. Who was afraid of who? "Mr. Mitchell," Stephanie started. I assumed Avery worked for her, given the placement of Avery's desk. "We're going to fix this issue of the child." Addie looked up at me. Her bright blue eyes blinked slowly because I must have looked like a giant in her presence. "Hi," she said. "Your face." She looked at the magazine, then back to me. "Avery, I need to speak with you about your daughter," Stephanie said. "That will not be necessary, Miss Blythe," I said, and knelt next to Addie. "Hi. I see you must not like my face." I smiled and pointed at the sharp lines drawn across it. "Your face is pretty," she said. "Why are you in my book?" "I guess I got lucky," I mused. "My name is James. My friends call me Jim, or Mitch." I felt the anxiety of everyone in the room, and it was thick with fear and annoyance, all geared toward my being here and this sweet little girl. "I like Mitch," she giggled and popped 2 dimples in each of her cheeks in doing so. "I'm Addison." She went back to coloring. "My friends call me Addie." "May I ask why such a sweet girl like yourself is working today? You should be playing with the kids in the children's center, I would assume." "Mommy said I have to learn work before they let me play," she said. My eyes shifted over to Avery's, and hers were still ablaze. Though it was a short amount of time, I'd remembered these beautiful blue eyes as well. All memories of this blue-eyed beauty pushed aside, I knew something must have happened to piss her off. "Is Addie here because you do not trust the preschool? Perhaps a sick child wasn't sent home?" "More like the preschool wouldn't allow her in," Avery shot back, eyeing me and everyone standing around me. "I told her that she was lucky and got to come to work with me instead." I rose up and glanced around to locate Alex. "Mr. Grayson," I called out to my vice president. "Right here," he said, walking over from speaking to someone in an office down the hall. "Wow. Hey there," Alex said, his eyes meeting Addie's. "Hi," she said, still working on dissolving my face with her colors. "Nice to have you working in our public relations department, young lady. Alex, handle the issues with that video file and the advertisements that failed to send. I need to speak with the women in the preschool facility." It didn't take much for Alex to do the math at that point. Typically, I would have called down and handled matters, but I didn't. His eyes went from Addison to Avery, and then his features went soft, and he nodded. "We'll fix the problem," he said, then rounded up the herd and left me to speak with Avery. I looked back at Addie and Avery. "Would you both mind joining me on a field trip?" I asked, trying to make this exciting for Addison. I didn't even need to. The kid wasn't frightened of any of us. I loved that fearless nature. "Where to?" she questioned. "Addie, don't be rude. This nice man who you demolished with your colors is going to take us down to where your school is." "Good," she sighed. "Your work is really boring, Mom." "I couldn't agree more," I answered Addie with a smile. "I'll join you," Stephanie interjected. "Again, I'm so sorry about this, Mr. Mitchell." "Why are you sorry?" Addison asked before I could dismiss the woman. "Addison Jane," Avery scolded her daughter and took her hand. "It's rude to talk when adults are talking." "Ms. Blythe, please stay, thank you," I said, before the woman eyed Avery and rushed back toward her office. I nodded toward Avery, then smiled at Addison. "I believe our field trip awaits the 3 of us." "Yes," Addison's smile beamed. Avery and Addison followed me into the elevator, and I hit the button to the lower level where our daycare and preschool was located. "How long have you been working for us?" I finally broke the ice of quiet awkwardness. "A week," Avery said flatly. "Listen, I don't need your help." "I understand that. However, would you rather Addison work? She's already informed me it is quite dull, And there's the whole child labor law thing. Avery narrowed her eyes at me skeptically. Fine, then. Maybe you can convince those women who run your cute little preschool and daycare to take her. I had no idea there would be a problem. Her records were turned in, correct? I asked. Of course. I brought all of that. I'm not a She stopped herself, and I smiled, knowing the woman cussed like a goddamn sailor. I brought everything required. Then let's find out why this super smart little young lady isn't in preschool. I need experience, Addison spoke up. Mommy said that's how I get in. Ah, I pointed toward her magazine. Looks like you gained enough experience. I looked at Avery, hoping I grabbed the right word for Addison's excuse for not being in preschool. You colored my face out like a champion. I laughed. Addison giggled, and it was the sweetest sound. I'm sorry, Mitch, she said. Your face looked mean, you know? I need to work on that, don't I? Yes, Addie said. You look pretty right now. I'm smiling, I responded. Smiling is pretty. It most certainly is, I answered. After the elevator opened, we were soon around the corner where our children's center was located. When I walked in, Janice Spokes and her intern turned 3 shades of pink. Her eyes drifted from mine down to Addison, then Avery. That's when I felt Addison clutch my hand. I was shocked at the gesture, but then livid that the little girl would think to hold on to my hand in the first place. Was she scared of these two? What did they do to make her reach for my hand? Addie, Avery whispered, come stand with Mommy. I gave Addie a reassuring smile. I'll take care of this. I knelt to where Addie stood quietly at Avery's side. Should I use my smiling face or the face you scribbled on in your book? I inquired when I saw her serious expression wasn't wavering. Scribble face, Addie answered, and then looked at the 2 women who had plastered smiles on their questioning expressions. I rose and turned to the women. Their faces were curious and confused, as well as they should be. Ms. Spokes and Ms. King, I said. Did Miss... Son of a bitch, I forgot Avery's last name. Miss Gilbert, Avery said. Yes, thank you. Did Miss Gilbert have any difficulty with her daughter's paperwork today? No, Mr. Mitchell. I looked at Addison. It appears the children are having snack time. Would you like to join them? I glanced to Avery. Any food allergies? None, she said, though she eats like her mother does. I smiled, but Avery remained indifferent. There's plenty of food. Try not to spoil your dinner, though, I said. If I hadn't turned and knelt back down to reach Addison's eye level, I would have never had the smell of coconut and blueberries hit all of my senses after she hugged me. I patted her back. Better hurry. Addison scurried off, and I stood to bring my full attention back to the women. While the aides assist the kids, I would like to meet with the one who refused one of our employees' children. That would be me, Ms. Spokes boldly spoke up. I'd never been in this room, and I only knew the woman through staff meetings when we decided to open the preschool, but it was evident that the woman thought she owned the place. Very well. Where's your office so we can speak privately? I didn't fail to observe her glare at Avery before she motioned for me to follow her. Come with us, I said to Avery. Avery didn't need the invitation. I could tell she wanted a piece of this woman herself. You will wait outside, Miss Gilbert, Ms. Spokes said. You're fucking kidding, right? That's my kid in there, and I'm not leaving a decision about her to be left up to you or him, Avery snapped. Excuse me? Ms. Spokes countered. You do realize you're in the company of Mr. James Mitchell, Avery finished for her. Amazingly enough, Mr. Mitchell is CEO of the company's preschool that wants to reject my daughter. Avery, I said, knowing I should have kept it formal with last names, but that slipped. Please allow me to ask Ms. Spokes why Addison was... I paused to ensure I heard correctly. Addison was rejected? Yes, rejected, Avery confirmed. What is the meaning of this? I asked Ms. Spokes in a demanding tone. Do not even think about giving me any excuses either, Ms. Spokes, or this will be your last day watching over this department. We don't have enough staff, she said indignantly. How long has this been an issue? I asked. At least a month. I've heard nothing of the sort. I haven't had any requests to expand this department. Did I miss something that you may have sent my way? No, she stood solidly. This woman was an old crow. We told the parents we were full. That is not your duty, ma'am, I said sternly, and the woman finally broke and sat in her chair. Those are not merely parents. They are my employees who depend on my company's children's center for numerous reasons. I kept my gaze locked on hers. I must know exactly how many children are in other daycares or preschools due to you not informing upper management there was an issue with a shortage in staff. 8, maybe. 8? Maybe? I questioned. Maybe is not a word I like hearing from a woman that my company entrusts with our employees' children and their safety. I can't remember, she whined. That is no excuse. That is 8 parents, my employees, might I remind you, who have had to scramble to make other arrangements despite what was promised would be made available to them. I should have had something on my desk informing me that more staff was required before the first child was turned away. I'm not quite certain I can trust you in such an important position, one that requires someone to look out for what's best for my employees and their children. You will be replaced. I'm fired? She covered her heart. You will be transferred to a different role if that satisfies your needs. Currently, I do not care for your callous attitude or negligence. Until your replacement has been hired, I suggest you will work with your temporary replacement, I said. An official announcement will be emailed to all employees announcing their children are welcome back to our children's center. We have more than enough room here, so I know that space is not the issue. That is all, Ms. Spokes. I am so sorry, Mr. Mitchell. You might say that to the employees you've shunned. However, I do not see you as the type to apologize to the parents who've been placed in difficult childcare situations. I am thankful I found this child on one of my floors with her mother, or I would have never known there was an issue. I will be working with Human Resources and our child development recruiters to find your replacement, and I do hope it's immediately. And where do I transfer to, Mr. Mitchell? I turned from where I was leaving her office. Well, that's a question you might want to ponder for a while. Sleep on it tonight, perhaps? You see, the fear I see in your eyes is most likely the same that was in the parents' eyes who depended on this daycare and preschool for their children. It's in all of their offer packages, and yet here you are turning them away and making a liar out of me. My Lord in heaven, she sat in her chair, frazzled. There are plenty of internal transfer positions available within the company, I said, seeing the woman was about to become my brother's heart patient if I didn't slow it down some on her. Look them up. Thank you, she muttered. I turned and felt Avery on my heels. Ms. King, I called out to the other woman who seemed to work alongside Ms. Spokes. Yes, Mr. Mitchell. She popped over to me as a young college intern would. We will be making changes to this department. Until then, no child will be turned away. You will find a way to ensure they're taken care of. The additional staff will be hired, trained, and working by the end of next week. You will also be reporting to someone besides Ms. Spokes. I saw her expression fall. If you'd like to resume working here, I would like to know here and now. Absolutely, Mr. Mitchell. Her eyes darted from Avery to me. Very well, then, I said. I should have never needed to accompany one of my employees down here to find our child care facility wasn't operating correctly. The blame falls squarely on Ms. Spokes. But for the future, please know that there is a chain of command that ends with me. I decide the fate of every department, and I need to know what everyone needs. This all will be fixed, and I do hope you are more than welcoming to little Addison. I left with a certain amount of bubbling rage inside that the old bag had made decisions for my company without telling me. Bullshit. It was unacceptable, and a horrible fucking way to reconnect with Avery. God only knew what she thought of my company after this debacle. You almost gave that woman a heart attack. My brother's a heart surgeon. He would have saved her miserable life, I said, angrier than when we left the daycare, but feeling more than familiar with Avery. I wasn't like this with anyone but Alex when I was this fucking pissed. I was, however, holding in more shit than I was letting Avery know. Avery laughed. She reminds me of that old bitch who gave you trouble on the tour. I tried to smile at the memory, but I was too busy wondering how many other departments in my company were fucked like this. Possibly, yes. I looked at her. It's nice to see you again, Avery. I hope Addison enjoys her new preschool. Avery was stiff, and I knew she was probably pissed off at the curt way I was responding to her. I couldn't mask my irritation, though. I couldn't bring her into my arms like I wanted to. I couldn't steal her over to the elevators that led up to my office and tell her I regretted everything, that I now made exceptions in fucking my employees, and that exception was her and her alone. I couldn't do anything but get my ass involved with these department heads and fix all of this shit. When I was back on the top floors, Alex met my short fuse. I want more surveillance on that daycare until a replacement is found. On it. Everything cool with Avery and her daughter? He tried to probe, but I wasn't interested in small talk. Addison is in the facility. I need someone on those cameras. We can talk more about it later. I just pissed off the woman running that place and I want her watched until she's replaced. I'll handle it now, Alex said, leaving and knowing we'd catch up after I cooled off some more. What a fucking joke. In order to fix this, I would assemble a new team to inspect all of my departments. Never again would something like this go undetected. Of all places for things to go wrong, I couldn't believe it was with our employees' children. Good God. I was embarrassed, pissed, and now fucking furious that I couldn't give in to what I really wanted, to express my apologies to Avery, to beg her for another chance. No, the asshole CEO had to leave and do his damn job instead.
Chapter 17. Avery. My mind was a shitstorm of a mess about Jim. Period. I was ready to rip his throat out when I assumed that he was pissed when he spotted Addie in the office with me yesterday. Then he knelt next to her. The James Mitchell facade that he carried, and everyone seemed scared shitless of, faded, and the Jim I'd been with in London knelt to talk kindly with my daughter. I watched Addie interact with him, all while observing Stephanie appear as if she was either going to pass out, cry, or hug me. I mean, I got it. Respect your boss and follow the rules. It's as easy as that. At least, that's how I envisioned working a job. I could say with 100% certainty, however, that even if I didn't know Jim from my vacation, I wouldn't have behaved the way everyone else seemed to when he entered a room. I wouldn't have hid him behind my computer, freaked the hell out if he approached me, trembled when I talked to him. All the shit I watched everyone except for the suit crew do. I thought it was fucking weird, but maybe that's how all big businesses ran when the owner was around. So he came to your floor, Britt said. And then what? Finish your thought, Avery. Sorry. He brought Addie and me to the preschool that rejected her. He seemed pretty pissed that that old lady had sent more kids than just Addie away. You think he remembered you? She lowered her voice on the phone while I finished making Addie her breakfast. Finish quick, Addie, I said, wanting to get our breakfast dishes in the sink before we walked out the door. We're going to be late. Avery! Jesus, Brittany, I don't know. I'm trying to get out of here on time. Good Lord, he had to have remembered you. He probably wouldn't have done what he did if he didn't. Would it have mattered? I said. I mean, yeah, he remembered me. How could he not? He stared at my face for almost an entire week, so unless he's senile, he knows who I am. He asked how long I'd been working there, so it must have crossed his mind that maybe I worked for him all along. Addie got up from the table and slid on her red sequin ballet flats. She wore them with everything, no matter how much they clashed with her outfit. It was pretty adorable. I don't have time to talk about it right now, though. I'm sorry. I'll call you later. Gotta go. Okay. Have a good day and call me later, Britt said before I ended the call. Let's hit it, kid, I said to Addie. We are seriously going to be late if there's too much traffic.
I work with you today, Mommy?
Addie asked as we walked out the door, and I locked it behind us. No, I don't think so. That nice man, my big boss, he helped you get promoted yesterday.
Mitch, she said. My friend.
We were at the car in record time, and Addie didn't give me any hassle when I buckled her in. He's the boss too, Addie, I said, kissing her forehead and moving toward the driver's seat. You piece of shit, car, start already, I internally demanded. Please, God, do not let me get fired because of you. I slammed on the steering wheel. You stupid, stupid car.
This car is stupid,
Addison said. Don't say stupid. It's a bad word. Mommy shouldn't say it either.
Oh, Mom, you say bad words. I don't.
The car started. Thank God, I said.
I know. God is happy that I say good words.
God doesn't like Mommy saying the bad ones. I gave her a sheepish look while backing out. I need to work on that. I'm sorry.
I won't say stupid.
She covered her mouth.
Sorry, that S word.
Don't say any S words. How about that? I smiled.
I can't say silly?
You can say that one, I said with a laugh. We were close enough to work to avoid freeways, which was a miracle in itself. We pulled into the parking structure, passed all the fancy cars, and found a place on the second level. Sweet, right by the elevators. That's when I saw the sign. Reserved for management, I said in defeat. Well, maybe Mom will be promoted to manager one day, and this will be our parking place.
Mitch will promote you. He promoted me.
Addie, you don't even know the word, I laughed. However, we need to work on our big words. We haven't done that in a while. So our word for the day is promote, or promoted.
Mitch does it,
she answered. Yes, he probably does. Other people do it too. It works in different ways and has different meanings. But for you and me, it means to get a better thing, to do a bigger job, or to make more money.
We need a new car, Mommy.
You don't like Bunny anymore?
Bunny is so tired, Mommy.
Yeah, well, I'll need a really good promotion to get a new car.
Daddy got one.
I rolled my eyes and slipped the keys out of the ignition. He sure did, I answered, trying not to sound sarcastic. I was a lot of things, but I wasn't the type of parent to badmouth the other. He didn't need my help to look like a deadbeat dad to his daughter. Come on, out of the seat. Where's your backpack?
Oh, no.
Addie clamped her small hands over her mouth and closed her eyes.
At home. Oh, no, Mommy.
My fault. I rushed us out. It's no big deal.
Will I still get promoted from Mitch?
She asked. I don't think we'll see your friend today. We got lucky yesterday, I said. Now grab my hand. Let's go. We headed toward the walkway that was erected over the street, leading us from the parking structure to my building. We always entered on the 9th floor, and today we made it just in time. Instead of using the elevator, we breezed down the flight of steps to where the children's center was. When we got there, the kids were seated, and the old ninny was still present and in charge. I see you've forgotten your backpack, she said to Addie. How do you expect to learn if you can't remember basic things, young lady?
I won't.
Addie started making excuses for herself. A fucking 3-year-old toddler, as the old woman towered over her intimidatingly. Addie, it's okay. Go sit with the others, I said, holding my arm up to back the woman away from Addie. The fact that this bitch thought she could flex on my kids sent me through the roof, and I felt my self-control slipping away as Addie joined the group. I took a long, slow, deep breath before I brought my furious gaze to meet the woman's eyes. You have the fucking nerve to speak to my child as if she's the one responsible for her things? What the hell is wrong with you? You're already getting fired for acting like a miserable bitch, and you still can't help yourself. The look on her ashen face would have led anyone else to believe that I'd just ran over her cat. Are you threatening me? She said, flabbergasted. I am serious as a fucking heart attack, lady. I can see the look on your face. Scolding a 3-year-old for not bringing a backpack? Really? It's not like you sent her home with homework, is it? Did I miss that part after I picked her up? Maybe you did. Bullshit. Listen up, I said, pointing at her. If you so much as look at my daughter sideways and I find out about it, you're going to regret it. You have no idea what I'm willing to do to make sure my daughter is safe from predators like you. Well, listen, this is a complete misunderstanding, Miss Gilbert. She straightened her posture and held her head high with some level of righteous indignation that I had no idea how she had the nerve to muster. You're right about that. I looked over at the children and the aides who sat with them. Aside from this old nag, they seemed well taken care of, and that was the only reason I didn't march Addie out of that place right then. I trust you'll make sure my daughter has a good day. I'll check on her later. I turned to leave, and there was Jem with the young Johnny Depp-looking friend of his who I met at the restaurant in London. My eyes widened, and the Johnny Depp guy seemed to be covering his grin while Jem was looking past me at the hag. Excuse me, gentlemen. I plastered on the best smile I could. I have to get to work. Is everything okay, Miss Gilbert? Jim asked, eyes still on the woman. Miss Spokes? No problems at all, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Grayson, she responded. I stood at the preschool entryway and leveled the woman with my glare, and she didn't say another word. I should have left and headed to my desk, but I didn't want this woman spinning anything.
Mitch!
Addie screamed, running over to greet her new friend.
I'm promoted today.
Hey there, Addie, he said as he knelt to greet her. Certainly a good call, or he would have been doubled over by my daughter ramming into his balls. She squeezed his neck, and I covered my mouth when he patted her back with one arm and remembered her name. Maybe he did remember a lot more than our fake role-playing. Wait, he was just good with names. Oh, hell, he didn't have to do this at all. It was the gesture alone that had me watching and wishing Jim was in my life for a moment. If only to see this smile on Addie's face. Promoted? He asked after greeting her. So that means you'll be working up in the top boring offices with me now?
No, silly, she said. I get to go in there.
Why, yes, you do, he answered. He pointed up to the man I stood next to now. This is my friend. His name is Alex, and he's going to make sure you have fun teachers today. Sound good?
It does.
She hugged Jim again and patted his cheek sweetly. Addie, go to class. Jim needs to go to work too, I said, and then nearly choked when I realized I'd said his name in a way that didn't fly around here.
His name is Mitch, Mom,
Addie said, and then spun around and went into the classroom area. Jim and Mitch, eh? Alex said, looking at me with a knowing smile. I'm Alex Grayson. He reached his hand out to mine. I believe we've met before. I smiled after Jim walked with the woman into her office. Yes, in London, when we all played musical dining tables, I think. He chuckled. Do you always curse out old ladies? Just the ones who screw with my kid, I said. I'm sorry, but I have to go. It's great seeing you again, Alex. I left the man who'd blown Jim up the entire time I was with him in that castle, leaving him standing there and looking at me with great curiosity, I'm sure. Amir, I said to my coworker, are you going to eat those fries? God, what have we done all these years without you here? He said, sliding the fries over to me. The crows are going to be pissed when they starve to death, Alyssa teased. You want the last of this milkshake? That's where I draw the line, my friends, I said, crunching into Amir's still piping hot French fries. I don't drink after others. Total germ freak on that one. Not like you'd have room for it anyway. All this food, girl, Amir said. Your body can't process this food. You're too tiny. Guys, we have to get back. This will be the second time I would be late today, I said, checking my phone and seeing the time. Can't have that, Eliza said. Oh, she added like a mystery was being revealed. Want to know why the execs were on the floor yesterday? Someone mentioned something about footage being erased from the company cameras after a sales manager got caught screwing a rep in his office, Amir said. Shut the hell up, I said. That's the rumor. I also heard the reason Mr. Mitchell was with them was because of the documentary on his doctor friend. I think he's a brain surgeon or something. They've been recording bits and pieces, but I heard it sucks. That's what Carrion Media Production says anyway. Don't say I told you, Amir said. Jesus. And here we were talking about the boring video Jim was watching in England, which led to him getting me off in the most glorious way I could have ever desired. I had to shut these thoughts down, and now my body was already aching for that sensation again, and only from him. Good Lord, you two. Does the gossip run that thick in this place? I asked, changing my mind's gears. When Mr. Mitchell comes off the top floors, yes. Everyone looks for some sort of reason he's on their floor. God damn, I said. He's treated like a god here, isn't he? He sure looks like one. A Greek god, Alyssa giggled. Try seeing the man without his clothes on, I thought with a smile. It was a lame way to compare a man with a perfectly chiseled body and a beautiful face of perfection, but hey, sometimes you had to call it what it was. We were stopped when Stephanie met me at my cubicle. I have no idea what's going on, she said. Maybe it was yesterday, with your daughter being here inappropriately, or something else. What is it? Am I fired, Stephanie? I asked, cutting her off. Why would you think that? Because you look like you're going to pass out. Well, I wish I could give you more information, but I can't. Mr. Mitchell would like to see you in his office, she said. Follow me, please. I'll show you to the executive elevators. Should I be worried about this? He's possibly addressing your daughter being on our floor. If he has a problem with her, maybe I do need to pay him a visit, I said, to which she eyed me in response. I rode up to the 64th floor silently, and I walked out to floor-to-ceiling glass windows that overlook downtown LA. I'd bet that without smog, you'd see the ocean from up here. It was exquisite. Speaking of exquisite, so was the woman who stood in front of a massive reception desk, looking at papers on the counter. She wore a form-fitting business suit with her red-soled stilettos and had perfectly coiffed hair, skin, and manicure. It was a much different world up here. Was Jim lying about not screwing secretaries or anyone who worked for him? This chick was drop-dead gorgeous. Her eyes were a brilliant blue, and they lit up when she spun around and saw me. Or so I thought. She was actually beaming at Alex, who'd gotten off the elevator next to mine and was approaching me from behind. Alex offered up a grin to her. One of those grins. And if this chick had been in a shitty mood before, Alex had changed it instantly. Miss Gilbert is here to see Mr. Mitchell, the elevator cop told her as he held the doors from closing. How's your day, Miss Flores? Great, Mike. Thanks for sending it, Miss Gilbert. She took papers she'd been examining near a keyboard on the other side of the desk before turning to face me again. Miss Gilbert, please follow me. That was it for the sweet talk. I was walking the Green Mile down a hallway where fancy, English-looking artwork hung. The only artwork I'd ever seen anyway. It must have been the hallway to Jim's office. 2 double doors opened after Miss Flores ran a security card over a security pad. She knocked as the doors opened. Mr. Mitchell. Yes, Summer? He asked distantly. Miss Gilbert is here at your request. Thank you, he said. I looked at her in confusion, and she just kept her poker face and walked away, leaving me to meet Mr. Mitchell in all his glory. I held a hand over my heart, and it wasn't because of how gorgeous Jim looked, sitting in his dark gray 3-piece suit either. The red tie set off the striking features of his face, but this corner office, surrounded by windows overlooking Los Angeles, was enough to bring me to my knees. Jesus Christ, I said softly, looking to my left, right, and back to where Jim's large, exquisite desk was. No wonder England's countryside is in pictures out in that hallway. Where the hell would you hang a picture with windows instead of walls? Nervous chatter. Jim's voice quietly rang into my ears. Since the first moment I met you, I would have never pinned you for having a nervous bone in your body. I looked at him and grinned. This is so beautiful, I said, ignoring him, calling me out on rambling. How do you get anything done with these views? Jim rose from his desk and pulled off his jacket. My eyes widened when I saw the shirt he was wearing under his black vest. That was the shirt he hated. He fucked me in. Well, I fucked him in. Shit, you need to chill out, Avery. Nice shirt, I said. A little bird told me that you hated that shirt. Was that little bird chirping through a magazine article you read? He smiled, the Jim smile. Perhaps it was in a gossip column? No, I think the bird told me firsthand. I arched an eyebrow at him. A real-life speaking bird, huh? You must know a lot of parrots, he said. Then he grew serious, and that scorched earth look was creeping its way up. Will you please have a seat, Miss Gilbert? He pointed toward the luxurious leather seats across from where he sat in his $1 billion, most likely Corinthian leather chair. The scorched earth look doesn't work on me, I said, crossing my legs and trying to determine why I was here. What do you need? Stephanie is pretty much packing my desk up right now. He ran a hand through his hair and pursed his lips. Did you have to cuss out Miss Spokes this morning, Avery? He asked, half humored and half annoyed. She was a bitch to my kid, Jim. Sorry, Mr. Mitchell, I said, my irritation beginning to grow. That woman deserved a stiff slap across her face. She's goddamn lucky I didn't give her that instead of a few harsh words. Jim glanced down at a piece of paper. It also states here that you threatened to kill her. He shook his head and licked his lips. Why am I not surprised? I saw the look on his face. This was him holding back laughing, but trying to remain serious. Kill her? I rolled my eyes. I'm not in the mafia, for Christ's sake. I told her she'd regret messing with Addie again, though, and I meant it. That bitch was completely out of line. You can understand why that might sound mafia-like to an old woman from Santa Monica, Avery, he said, trying to hit me with that look again. I noticed him rereading the paper in front of him, and then I saw that tic he seemed to have when deep in thought. He touched each fingertip, one by one, to his thumb while he read. You've been here for nearly 9 days, yes? Yes, I said, angry that I'd fucked up a new and excellent job. Jim was too serious, and I was too pissed that I'd let that woman get the best of me today. Well, I've never seen someone get reported to me in that amount of time. Honestly, I don't believe I've ever had anyone reported to me for their behavior ever. Not unless there's some sort of sexual harassment charges, but in your case, he looked at me, it's regular harassment charges. It takes a hell of a lot to bring an employee past my HR team and directly to me. Would you know why that could be in your case and after only 9 days working here? I don't know. Tears were welling up in my eyes now. Why don't you just tell me? Avery. He came across the desk and sat in the chair next to me. I see that you are quite protective of Addison. I would have hoped you trusted that I was taking care of that woman after I talked with her yesterday. I didn't need your threats toward her this morning to add to my removal of her. He smirked. I'm fairly sure you wouldn't have followed through on those threats, too. His eyebrow arched, and damn, I missed him. But it makes my case to remove her from that preschool more difficult than it needs to be. You have to understand something about me, I said, turning to face him and appreciating him coming to my side of the desk, perhaps as an understanding boss instead of the big exec standing imposingly behind his desk. I've been in too many positions to protect Addie from the BS that comes her way. That woman started giving her the 3rd degree for forgetting her backpack. She's 3. I wouldn't tolerate that from any teacher, here or at another preschool. He took my trembling hands into his large ones. My lawyers. Your lawyers? Are you suing me for this? No, he sighed. Miss Spokes threatened to sue my company over your behavior today. The lawyers were brought in with human resources and Alex late this morning. While we went through the surveillance footage, we noted a behavior with the woman that, well, let's just say she's not suing anyone after the discussion we had with her. She signed off to leave the company. What the hell was on those videos? I have a right to know. Did that woman fuck with Addison after? No, he said, rubbing the back of my tense hands. She was negligent in her work. The videos also proved that she wasn't acting according to her job requirements. Thank God other teachers were in her company, or perhaps children could have been harmed. She was getting paid to play solitaire on her computer. She was given the option to pay us back for lack of working for the 2 years of having her with us, or leave without a fuss. So I'm not fired? Actually, no, he said. But I am kindly asking that if you are upset with staff, you do not threaten to make anyone regret it next time. If they come at Addie, you'll come directly to me, he said with that CEO voice that was sexy until he used it on me. I will handle it. We have security watching the preschool nonstop. No reason to go all godfather and threaten to make anyone sleep with the fishes, okay? All right, I said. Is that it then? He pulled his hands from mine and stood and smiled. Yes, I would like to say that I don't ever want to have to see you up here in my office again. He pinched his lips together as I stood. But that wouldn't be true. His face seemed pained, like he meant something else, but hell, I had no idea. He did that sexy lip pucker thing while he bit the inside of his cheek. Avery, let me take you out or something. Give me another chance. I know I fucked it up with the senseless words you overheard on that call with my brother. Truly, I never meant them. The second you walked out the door on me, I realized I was a jackass to even think like that, whether or not I was frustrated with my brother probing into my life. I have a hell of a life. You know I have issues. I'm a single mom who deals with a fucking drug addict for an ex. I laugh in disbelief that he was trying to have a shot with me. I can't bring you into that. You knew that when you were on the phone that day. It's not a life you want, trust me. If it's too horrible for me, then why do you allow Addie to live in this life that is so terrible for you? Good point. I blew out a breath. But I can't explain it. It would be worse for you. Trust me on that. How much worse? He waved his hand at his office. I run this entire place. I have countless employees here and in my London office that I am responsible for, and all the shit that goes with keeping it all running smoothly. Why can't I have a chance with the one thing I feel might mean more to me than all of that? You can't mean that, I said. It was a fling, and you know it. You saw the good side. You saw the Avery that wasn't living in an average bullshit day. And you never met the single mom, Avery. I want to know that side of you as well. Just give me a chance and allow me to determine whether or not I want to be with the real you. Yeah, that smile. I shook my head, smiling back at him. That cocky smile. It's going to screw your ass over, you know. I have a psycho ex who will despise you. Most exes hate themselves for losing the best thing they ever had, then project it onto the one who took their place. Oh, I planted my hands on my hips. So you took his place. You're quite confident, Mr. Mitchell. Hopeful, he said. And for the love of God, call me Jim. Okay, fine, I said. You want a shot at my shitty life, being around the bullshit? Because you don't look like you get dirty. He held his hands out. I believe I got this shirt quite dirty at one time. He smirked. You have no idea what the hell you're doing, do you? I just know I want a chance with you again. I can't get you out of my mind. What I did to you. He ran his hand over the light growth on his chin. I'm full of regret for hurting you and desperately sorry for those painful words. Allow me a chance to prove to you I knew I was foolish and wrong. Okay then, smart guy. I smirked at his latent features. Tomorrow night is Big Mac night. McDonald's? He questioned. I can take you. I held my hand up. It's Addie's night. You're welcome to join us if you want. She deems you are her good friend anyway. I narrowed my eyes at him. I will warn you now, Jim Mitchell. If you hurt her, if it doesn't work out between us, I promise Addie will still be my friend. I am so serious. She is not to be hurt in this. Her dad's already doing a fantastic job with that. I understand. We'll take it all slow. I will prove to you I won't hurt either of you. Yeah, we'll see about that. Let me just kiss you or something. Jim's cell phone rang, then his office phone, while his door opened to reveal Alex. Jim glanced at Alex with the startling act of all communication for the man happening at once. What the hell? He said. Is the goddamn building on fire? No, we just ran the first part of Colin's docu-series. Jim looked at me, then at his phone, which was still ringing off the hook. Do I even want to answer that? He asked Alex. Alex laughed. Let's just say Jacob will be quite jealous that he was a test subject. We were successful in ensuring better for privacy for Colin with the new methods used while airing this new series on neuroscience for St. John's. Excellent news. Go ahead and field that out to the PR groups while I handle these phone calls. Colin and Jake are meeting us at Kinder's tonight. Nice job, man. He looked at me. Nice to see you again, Avery, he said. All right, my job here is done. I'm clocking out. Okay, I'm leaving too, I said. Jim's phones were going into ringing frenzies. Tomorrow night sounds great, Avery, he said, stopping me from following Alex out of his office. So I guess it will be a Big Mac for Addie and me, and I'm guessing 3 or 4 of them for you, he teased, his phone still constantly ringing. Damn it, I have to get this call. Your department might be insane, but just ignore it, and know that I'm going just as crazy up here. He winked, and I could tell he was my Jim from England again. I had a responsibility to myself, my daughter, and really any man that I dated, in that order. If I was a mess, it filtered in and hurt Addie. I never brought men around her, but right now she knew Jim as Mitch, her friend. So a little fast food get-together never hurt anything. Of course, I would ask Addie about Jim joining us first. She would have to be cool with the fact that we would have a new friend with us on her and Mom's midweek date night.
Chapter 18. Jim. I had no time to reflect on Avery being in my office or exactly what I'd said to encourage her to allow me another opportunity with her. This day wasn't any less busy than my usual routine in the office. Still, by pulling recordings on my employees and going over them with human resources, Alex, and the lawyers, it wasn't necessarily an average day in the office either. It also wasn't usual practice for an employee with multiple supervisors above them to end up in my office, but I had Alex's intervention to thank for that. Thank God Alex swiftly caught on to her being my Avery from England. Because of that, no one questioned Alex insisting that she was to report directly to me over her incident. In my opinion, Avery was justified in her actions toward the woman. How that old battle axe made it through background was beyond me. Perhaps a psychiatric evaluation would have precluded her from even starting. There was no empathy or consideration for my employees' children. That was obvious from observing the way she treated Avery when we brought Addison into the preschool. Then her behavior toward Avery this morning. How many parents and children had she treated so rudely? It was unacceptable, and it wouldn't happen again. I had Alex put together a strike force team that consisted of members that would begin internal investigations of all departments. This entire event with the Children's Center prompted me to ensure that all departments at Mitchell & Associates were functioning at optimum levels. After putting this new plan of investigation in action, I was feeling slightly better, knowing we were taking steps to improve the quality of employment here at my company. This day certainly did not want to end. Even after I packed up and left the office, my email was exploding. Thank God I had my driver today, or I'd be stuck in the office finishing this shit up. With my driver Blake at the wheel, I was able to keep my laptop open and answer pressing emails while he drove me to meet up with the guys for dinner. Even with traffic tagging on an extra 50 minutes to my commute, it felt like I'd just sat in the damn car when we pulled up in front of the restaurant. "Give me another second to send off this last email," I announced to Blake. "Not a problem, Mr. Mitchell," he said, getting out of the car and advising the valets that we'd have the Bentley out of the way promptly. I worked quickly, and once all the necessary items were taken care of, I stepped out of the car and headed into the restaurant. My muscles were tense, and I was ready for a drink now more than ever. "So," Jake said after I was seated at the table, "new rules for all of us, eh? No more fucking around in bars now that Colin has his docuseries out?" He shook his head at me. "Glad my documentary could be your test monkey to figure that out. You do realize that unexpected fame almost cost me my relationship with Ash, correct?" I eyed my brother's cheeky grin. "You did that shit to yourself and you know it." "Yeah. Thanks to Jakey here using and losing the ladies, that stupid title we were given backfired on him after his interviews went out to the media outlets." Colin chuckled. "Speaking of which," Alex pulled his menu open and smiled. "Does Miss Gilbert know about this little gossip club headline of which you are an esteemed member, the Billionaires Club?" Alex laughed. "It has such an alluring ring to it. I personally think she would be impressed with your being a charter member, Jimmy." "Order your goddamn dinner," I said, laughing off my best friend's remarks. "Miss Gilbert?" Colin asked while sipping his gin. "Do you have a woman we don't know about? What the hell, Mitch?" Alex chuckled and motioned the waitress over to him to ask about something on the menu. Meanwhile, I took a nice long sip of my bourbon, something I'd needed for hours. "Jimmy," my brother said slyly, "who the hell is Miss Gilbert? Are you fucking a teacher now?" "Miss Gilbert has definitely taken my ass to school, if that's what you're implying," I answered just before the waitress asked for my order. I glanced up and ordered my filet mignon, medium rare, with steamed vegetables, and handed my menu back to the waitress. "Just fucking tell them," Alex said when the server left. "Or I will." "It's Avery." "How in the hell did you manage to find her?" Jake asked. "Or wait, did she Google you and stalk you out?" "No," I said, rolling my eyes. "She actually works at Mitchell." "So she is a crazy-ass stalker then, eh?" Colin tipped his glass to my brother. "You both have no idea what you're talking about. It's not like that," I said. "I'll agree with Jim," Alex snickered. "The chick is definitely not a stalker, though. In fact, it was more than obvious that she wasn't that impressed with Mr. Mitchell at all." "You mean she didn't hide under her desk when he walked in the room?" Jake said. "Nope. In fact, Jim called me over to her desk yesterday while he talked to her daughter, and she looked like she was going to strangle him if he made one wrong move." "No shit? So what's the deal? Are you finally ready to commit yourself to a relationship with a single mom?" Jake shook his head and sipped his scotch. "Last you told me, commitment issues were the reason you two parted ways. I'm joining her and her daughter at McDonald's for dinner tomorrow night. How's that for a commitment?" Everyone laughed at me. "Let me guess," Colin said. "You can't afford to take another big risk by bringing her to a nice restaurant?" "Her idea. I'm going for it. I've actually changed some things in my life after Avery gave me a few reality checks back in England. And now meeting her daughter, Jesus, the little toddler is just as adorable and strong-minded as she is. I can't seem to turn my back on either one." "Okay, she's hot as fuck," Alex said as he looked at the guys. "She seems to be pretty feisty." Jake's stark blue eyes never left mine as he interrupted Alex. "Not turning your back on these two is a very nice gesture, Jim. However, it's bullshit when it comes to a relationship with a single mom. She deserves a committed man, and we all know that is your biggest fear." "Fact," Colin chimed in. "You're a chick whisperer, man, but that fucking company always comes first. Or at least you hide behind it." "The guy's all right," Alex added. "You might be out of your league with this one, brother." I should have been getting pissed by this point, but the guys knew me well enough to understand I'd most likely lost my mind. That's an excellent way of putting it, Call, I said. I suppose I've hidden behind the company for long enough. I can't explain this without looking or sounding like a fucking idiot. All I can say is, I trust this one. Trust this one, Jake said. What the fuck does that mean? Our conversation ended when our food arrived and our plates were placed in front of us. The waitress left after we were settled with our dinner, and I instantly carved into my steak and took a bite. Fucking hell, I was starving. Answer the question, Romeo, Alex said, cutting into his lobster tail. Trust this one? I can't explain it or I would, I answered, forking through my steamed vegetables. I'm a different person with her. At least I was in England. Okay, Jake said. She has a kid, dick brain. His tone was sharper, and I got it. Jake went through hell and back to keep Ash after the press went wild and a psychotic ex tried to ruin him. Ash was 7 months pregnant with their first child now, and Jake, the biggest player of all of us, had changed significantly because of their relationship. He was the one who grew out of this lifestyle of using women for sex and not committing. He knew the drill. I know, I answered him with as much annoyance as I felt that he would question me being that big of an asshole. You know, Jake said, taking a bite of his salmon. So, you know what comes along with that, right? You hurt her, you hurt the kid. That's major. Oddly, instead of fighting my brother's accurate words, I smiled. That's the thing, I responded. It's also the reason I'll be eating a Big Mac tomorrow night instead of taking the two to an Ocean View restaurant or whatever bullshit you all mentioned earlier. I took another bite of steak, and while I chewed, Alex spoke up. She threatened to kick your ass herself if you fucked with that adorable child. Alex laughed. Just like she did the woman that we fired today, I answered. Colin laughed. She threatened someone and you fired the person she threatened instead of her? It's not like it sounds, Alex defended me. Trust me, we had a long-ass day dealing with the old crone bringing in her lawyers and human resources. It's also the reason we're learning about Casanova getting his Big Mac date, too. Exactly, I said. And after asking her for another chance, we are both of the understanding that Addison comes first. If I am to try and make this work with Avery, I have to know it's not just Avery. It's Addison, too. And Addison is already best buddies with your brother, Alex elbowed Jake, who sat to his left. She calls him Mitch. You better know what you're doing, man, Jake said, ignoring everyone but me. A kid is involved now. That is a road none of us have been down. Then he smiled. I do trust you to know what you're doing, though. A single mom would have normally sent you running the other way. Instead, you must have really found something in her. Your dumb ass only needed to get over your insecurities to acknowledge it. And who knows better than me that when you lose them, that's when you find out exactly how stupid you were to doubt yourself in the first place. I tipped my glass to my brother. Thank God she's giving me another chance. I only hope she'll keep me around. Well, let us know how your McDonald's date goes, Alex said. You'd better pretend to love every last bite or Addison will toss you aside. I should probably have her order for me, I smiled, imagining I was sitting with them at McDonald's and not here getting my ass lectured. Good idea. Better dunk those chicken nuggets in the right sauce, too, Colin added. Hopefully Addison picks ketchup. Jake started laughing, dabbing the corners of his mouth with his napkin. That would be ideal. Disgusting, I answered. The one condiment you hate, Jake said. Can we move off the McDonald's food menu, please? So long as we get a detailed report from you, Alex chimed in. The rest of the evening went off topic from my personal life and back to business as usual. We mainly discussed Jake's video and Colin's interview, but my mind could hardly stay focused as I thought about Avery and Addison. I knew the guys meant well by bringing up the fact that fucking with a single mom was no joke, and I wholeheartedly agreed with them. If I couldn't go all in with Avery and her daughter, then I shouldn't do it at all. I had no idea what Avery's ex had put both of them through, but I understood well enough that if my bullshit got in the way, I could hurt them both. And hell if I'd do that to either one of them.
Chapter 19. Avery. This day seemed to last forever. I hadn't been able to get Jim out of my mind since being in his office yesterday. Aside from the fact that he was gorgeous and stole my heart from the moment he first interacted with Addison, he wanted another chance with me. I didn't even know what to do with that. I would have naturally turned it all down, but I couldn't get the way he and Addie interacted out of my mind. He treated her as if he'd waited all his life to meet her. He wore the same smile that I saw in England when I showed him the video of Addie swimming. So seeing him being so authentic and sincere, I was willing to give it another try. I missed him. I missed England and us together in England. But I was home and in reality now, so I had to be cautious and smart about allowing this man into my life with my daughter around. After work, I was highly interested to see how Addie's day went in school. I should have known it would be awesome when I arrived at the preschool's location. I stood silently in the doorway, my purse snug on my shoulder as I watched Addie rush around the preschool room cleaning up to leave. The young blonde woman who was now in charge of the area was a breath of fresh air, and seeing the old spiteful woman gone made this pickup that much easier. I smiled when I saw my daughter's loose curls bouncing over her shoulders, following her teacher's instructions with her delightful and animated personality. With this sight alone, it was obvious little Addie had worked her way into being the teacher's pet. If that wasn't enough to make my heart swell with pride, I sighed with happiness while I watched her and the other toddlers interacting cheerfully. This is exactly what I'd hoped for when I pulled Addie from her other school and brought her here. I was so thankful she was happy with her new friends and teacher. This week was going by too fast. Only 4 days until the weekend, and then it was her dad's turn again. I hated thinking about that. Why was I ruining this precious moment by thinking about her dad getting her this weekend? The kids flooded out of the room to the waiting parents behind me. Addie was holding the blonde woman's hand while they approached me.
"This is my mommy,"
she announced. I reached out to shake the woman's hand. "Hi, I'm Avery. I see you have a little helper here." "Addison is wonderful," she said with a smile. "It's wonderful to meet you, Avery. I'm Lucy Stills. I came from Heavenly Love's preschool. It's my church's preschool from down the road. I have to ask, maybe beg." She cringed. "Go on," I said, glancing down to see Addie's devious smile. "I have a feeling Addie might have invited herself to your church." "No, actually we have a Christmas program that we're working on. After listening and watching Addie sing her heart out in the music portion of class today, I was wondering if you'd consider letting her sing in the musical. She's got some amazing talent," she said, smiling down at Addie. I looked at my daughter's begging eyes. "Do you think you can stand in front of a lot of people and sing?"
"I love singing to people, Mama,"
she said. I chuckled. "Well, Christmas isn't for 3 more months. When will you be holding your tryouts, or whatever you might call it?" "I'm the director, and Addison definitely has the part of our singing angel," she said. "That's, of course, if you're okay with her going to the church for practices and doing the program. We start our practices early for the program so that we're well prepared for the big day." "I'm perfectly fine with that. God knows we all could use a little church in our lives sometimes."
"Mommy says lots of bad words,"
Abby said, while my purse dropped from my shoulder to the bend of my arm. She went on while she shook her head.
"God doesn't like it."
I forced a smile. I get a little wordy sometimes, and my mouth could probably use some holy water now and then. "I'll say," a deep voice filled with humor said from behind me.
"Mitch!"
Addison squealed, dropped the teacher's hand, and rushed past me. I turned back and watched as Jim knelt to greet Addie as she ran to him. "Hey, kiddo," he said, as if he'd known her for years. I smiled at how adorable it all was. Addie was sort of blowing my mind with the way she kept reacting to Jem. She was an outgoing child to begin with, but when it came to her being around men, it took her a while to warm up to them, if she did at all. I would easily say that my daughter knew an asshole when she saw one. In the end, her papa was the only male figure she reacted to like this. That's why I stood in awe as I watched the way she treated Jim. This whole scene made me feel so much better about being open to him wanting another chance. I stood there, waiting and watching as Addie showed Jim her scribbled artwork for the day. God, how I wished her father could be that man to her. A dad she would run out to and cheerfully tell him about her day. Every child needed that from their father, and Addie didn't have that with Derek. So, would that be a yes then? Lucy asked with a laugh, breaking through my daydreaming moment. I turned back and tried to get my mind back on track with Addie's teacher. When are the practices? She has to be at her dad's after I get off work on Friday. I can make an exception, though. We rehearse on Thursday and Friday nights. It ends at 7. Addie can come to see the stage, and we'll see if her outgoing nature is still up for it. No pressure. I think she'll love it, I said. 7 is fine. It keeps us from sitting in rush hour traffic when we drive out to her dad's house in Orange County. This is excellent news. I'll see you tomorrow, Avery, Lucy said. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell. She acknowledged Jim. Good evening, Miss Stills, he responded, rising up and smiling at her. I trust your day with the children went well. They were marvelous, she smiled. If you'll both excuse me, a few more students are packing up, she said, and then turned to meet with another student's father who'd just acknowledged Jim before he walked over to pick up his kid. I turned and folded my arms at Jim and Addie, both now in a heavy conversation about what Jim would be eating at McDonald's tonight. Well, are we all ready for our dinner? I know I'm starved, I said, interrupting the two. Addison ran back over to me.
You can ride in my car, Jim, she said.
Yeah, Jim won't fit in our car, I teased. It's the McDonald's right before the freeway. It's a brand new one. Text me the address, he smiled. I'll meet you two there. Sounds great, I said, whipping out my new phone. I need your number. Excellent point, Jim said. After I added Jim to my contacts, we headed to our respective vehicles. I looked up the address and texted it to Jim before I fired up my car and we headed out. The thought of seeing this man at a McDonald's made me laugh. He was sporting some fancy designer 3-piece suit, a white shirt, and a burgundy tie. His taller-than-average height, the suit, and the painfully gorgeous looks of the man alone sitting at McDonald's would certainly make for an amusing night. Nothing like seeing Richie Rich slumming it at a fast food joint. Everything else aside, I was so hungry I could order the entire menu. The sandwich I'd ordered at lunch sucked, and the chips that came with it were all I'd been running on since noon. Jim was about to experience my wild eating habits again, and this time it wasn't because of his mouth-watering gourmet cooking. Tonight I was pigging out on fries, burgers, and milkshakes. I think Jim was in over his head, no matter how fancy he was dressed. Part of me was riddled with excitement to share this time with him and my daughter. I had to admit it. I was more than excited to introduce Jim to dining out Addie's style tonight. We were parked and out of the car before Jim arrived at McDonald's. I would have been inside ordering while we waited for Jim to show up, but Addie insisted we stay outside just in case Mitch got lost. Holy shit, I thought when I saw the black Bentley roll up like the president was paying this place a personal visit. The car parked in front of where Addie and I stood, watching as Jim stepped out from behind the driver's seat like it was any other day.
You can't drive?
Addie asked with a laugh, poking fun at Jim as he walked toward us with a smile. Jim's face creased in a way I'd never seen before after Addie called him out on having a chauffeur and not understanding it. I can drive very well, actually. He arched his eyebrow playfully at Addie after taking off his aviator sunglasses. She pointed at the Bentley, slowly rolling toward a secluded area at the back of the parking lot.
Then why won't you drive your car?
Jim glanced to where his driver was, then back to Addie. Well, I must admit, I get a little lazy at times. He looked at me for help in his excuses while being questioned by a 3-year-old. I laughed and shrugged. The crazy ways children view the world, I said with a soft laugh. All right, let's go order. I'm starved, and Mitch is late for our dinner date tonight.
Let's eat.
Addie looked at me.
Be nice, Mommy. He said he's lazy. I think he'll get better, though.
Well, ladies, Jim said, since I'm late, I'll be paying for dinner tonight. You are not buying dinner, I responded, walking behind where Addie was leading the way into her favorite restaurant. A real gentleman pays for dinner no matter what, Jim said, looking down at Addie, who stood next to him while we waited to order. Never forget that. He winked at her with a playful smirk. I smiled when I watched the two scouring the menu as if there were anything on it that everyone on the planet didn't know by heart. Well, since Jim is buying... Thank you, Jim, I said after he glanced at me. I'll take a Big Mac, a cheeseburger, a large fry, and a chocolate shake. Jim's lips tightened in humor. You sure that will hold you down? Oh, and a Coke. I smiled at him. Your mother is an expensive dinner date, he whispered down at Addie.
Mom and me eats lots of food,
Addie proudly proclaimed. That's good, Jim laughed. It's healthy to have a good appetite. I'm going to go find a table, I said. You two okay here?
We've got this, Mama.
Addie gave me a wink and a thumbs up.
Get a big table, too.
She finished before studying the Happy Meal toy display. I honestly expected Jim to look at me for help, being left with Addison, but instead the two ignored me leaving, and I laughed at how brave the man was to handle the ordering with Addie. I knew if Addie was wise to Jim, she'd order the entire menu and try to get away with it. While waiting at the table, I sat and thought about how this was turning out to be an enjoyable night. I was still in awe at how Jim was so taken with my daughter, and most of all, Addie was so accepting of him. I could sit here and think Jim was only doing all of this to get laid again, but I knew that wasn't the case. Jim wasn't acting as if that were even a thought in his head. He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know this side of me and Addison too. My motherly instincts were definitely present as well, and I felt comfortable with him joining me and Addie tonight. Who knew? We hadn't started in on dinner yet. Addie and I could both easily send him running to that Bentley when we dug into our food.
We have 3 trays, Mommy,
Addie shrieked while she and Jim came back with our food. 3 trays? I asked with a laugh. I stood to help Jim, who was balancing 2 trays with drinks, milkshakes, and food. Then I turned to where Addie proudly held her tray that had 2 Happy Meals on it. Did you get a Happy Meal too? I asked Jim while helping Addison up to her seat. Well, if I'm honest, we faced some difficulty having to choose between 2 separate toys. He sighed and smirked at Addison. Then the worst part, he said dramatically. Addison giggled at Jim's theatrics. I couldn't imagine anything being worse than having to choose between Happy Meal toys. I popped a straw in Addie's drink. Well, there was. Jim smiled at me, his emerald eyes dazzling in humor. Addie couldn't decide between having a cheeseburger or chicken nuggets. We determined the best bet would be just to order 2. I rose my eyebrow when I looked at Jim in response. Careful, Mitch. She'll play you like a fiddle if you give in so easily.
Mitch is weird,
Addie said, ignoring me and smartly changing the subject.
Mitch hates ketchup,
she informed almost every family sitting around our table. I had to try and break it to her gently, he said. I'm not a fan of the condiment.
It's sauce, Mitch,
Addison said, peeking into both Happy Meal bags.
It's good.
I offered to dip my fries in the barbecue sauce, he said, while I watched in humor as Jim opened his Big Mac packaging and tried to examine it while Addie was distracted. Scared she might notice you turning your nose up at that? I asked, then bit into my burger. He smirked, then took a bite. I watched him, knowing this man had to have been adjusting his taste buds. He swallowed, then went for his iced tea. Wow, Addie, he said. I'm glad I picked the Big Mac. She dipped her chicken nugget into her barbecue sauce and chomped on it. She nodded in response, but was fixated on her meal. So, Jim shifted to face me, ignoring the burger. She's a lot like her mother when food comes into play. That's an understatement. I laughed. In fact, she won't notice you're even here until she's finished eating. Fun date. He grinned. God, she looks just like you, he said, picking up some fries and tossing them in his mouth. He swallowed. She talks extremely well for her age. Well, I've always talked to her like she's an adult. Jim's eyebrows rose in humor. That could be dangerous, knowing how colorful your language can be at times. We read, too, and I do my best to keep my colorful language at a minimum when I'm around her. Jim only smirked in response, and then I noticed he was sticking to the fries. Afraid of the Big Mac? I teased. I pushed my cheeseburger over to him. Here, eat this. Some people don't like the sauce on the Big Mac, but I love it. He opened the cheeseburger, and I laughed again when I saw the ketchup on the wrapper. I'm not afraid of anything. I believe I told you that once. He pushed the burger to the side and went back to the fries. Really? I smiled. You act like this food is going to kill you. I wasn't finished. He winked, and that did something to my insides. I'd seen that daring wink before, and after it happened, well, let's just say we were in a place where he and I could act passionately on it. Oh, excuse me for interrupting you, I responded. I think that statement was true at one time, and then I lost you. He took another sip of his tea, then his expression became serious. It didn't take me long to realize that there's only one thing I do fear. And that would be? I questioned while shoving some fries in my mouth. I'm scared to death I'll lose you again. I'll admit here and now, that is my greatest fear. I smiled sympathetically at him, still trying to keep my composure at this confession. Why don't we just play it by ear? I smiled, then nodded toward Addie, the one I had to keep at the forefront of my mind when it came to thinking about rekindling what we had in England. You're doing great, though. I think she's quite approving of you, Mitch, I reassured him. I'm happy to learn that, Jim said. Hopefully this is a step in the right direction between you and me. I studied his curious smile for a moment. I think it might be, I responded. I had to divert my eyes from his before we got too deep with the conversation and Addie decided to chime in herself. That's when I started popping straws into our milkshakes. Who got vanilla? I asked in confusion. Then I pinched my lips together and looked at Jim. Vanilla? Really? I asked him. Addie advised that dipping fries in vanilla shakes is the best.
They are the best. Try it.
The word milkshake grabbed my daughter's attention while she'd been eating and coloring in her color book that came as her Happy Meal prize.
Do it, Mitch,
she giggled while taking off the lid to his milkshake. Addison, I had to slow her down or Jim would be wearing the milkshake. Don't be bossy. Jim doesn't have to dip a fry in the milkshake.
Sorry, Mitch, she said. You don't have to do it. It's good, though.
I'll give it a try. He stuck the fry in the shake and chewed on it. I watched and smiled at him, finally enjoying a menu item. This is quite delicious. I haven't had a milkshake nor a smoothie since my trip to England. Fuck. He's thinking about us tasting food off each other's bodies. God damn, I missed this look on this man. I was doing great at keeping it together, too.
Mommy went to England and stayed in a sand castle,
Addie said. A sand castle? That's intriguing, Jim said, eating more vanilla shake fries.
Like we built at the beach,
Addie said, moving to dip her fries into her shake now. Addie, it was a real castle. I showed you. A king and queen from a long time ago stayed there, too, I said. And from what I recall, they enjoyed their chambers so much that they didn't want to leave. Jim's eyes locked with mine, and I knew we were both back in that room, and I'm not sure which sexual routine he was thinking about, but mine was seeing him on his back with the roaring flames in the fireplace, the flicker in his glossed eyes. I could easily say they may have never wanted to leave, Jim said, then broke our stare and looked at Addie. You mentioned sandcastles, Addie. Do you enjoy the beach too? Good job changing the subject. I was starting to get worked up just thinking about our time at the castle and knowing that our memories had stuck with Jim too.
Love it, but can't go this time, she said, returning to her coloring again.
She's going to her dad's this weekend. She only goes to the beach when I take her. Well, I would love to invite you and your mom with me sometime. My brother loves to surf, and I might try it if you think it's a neat idea.
You surf? She questioned with excitement.
I see the surfers too. They're cool. I used to. Quite a lot, actually.
Mommy surfed a long time ago.
Well, then maybe if your mom thinks it's a good idea, we can all go to the beach. Addie looked at me.
Can we go?
When? I looked at Jim, whose face looked so soft, so young, so happy. Addie did bring out the youth in people, even when she was a spitfire. Whenever you'd like. I have a home on the beach. If you're okay with it, we can spend next weekend there. I think it would make it all the more enjoyable.
Mitch,
Addie said.
Don't lie. No one lives on the beach.
Some people do, he said. Next weekend works. I looked at Addie. Do you want to go stay in a beach house like we're on vacation, Addie? Jesus, was I doing this too fast?
Yes, Mommy, and surf too.
Jim laughed. Wow, perhaps we stick to sandcastles for now. He cringed at me as though he'd slipped up and started something with the whole surf idea. I grinned at how insecure the man was acting. It was another new side of Jim I'd never met, nor did I think I'd meet. I adored the concern and attention he gave Addie and me. He could have easily not given a damn about anything, but it was apparent he was trying hard to make it work with the three of us. I respected him on a new level than what I had grown to admire during our fun times in England. He owed neither one of us anything, and yet here he was, and what I assumed was him trying his best to give us everything. Who knew? I never had anyone treat Addie and me like this. It was refreshing, and a feeling that made me feel warm inside. The armored walls that I'd had up since before Addison was born seemed to come down more and more the longer I was in his presence. So the beach next weekend, Jim said after we finished our dinner, and Addie went to work on dipping cold fries into her milkshake. Addison smiled.
Sounds so much fun.
She held out her chocolate shake toward Jim.
Try your fries and chocolate.
Jim was successfully eating cold fries and trying Addie's suggestions of dipping them into the flavors of the milkshakes at the table. Welcome to our world, I said, watching Jim play along with Addie. Your world is colorful, tasty, and adventurous. Jim nodded toward Addie, watching for his reaction. I'm glad you invited me to dinner tonight.
I'm happy you came, Mitch, she said.
After we finished, we headed out to our cars. So, next weekend then? Jim knelt to Addie, and she put up a fist.
Fist bump,
she said. Jim chuckled and met her tiny balled-up hand and gently touched his fist to hers. It's a sealed deal. While Addie climbed into her seat, she worked on showing off for Jim, trying to buckle herself in. Thanks again for tonight, he said, reaching for my hand. This was quite a treat. I watched as he held my hand, staring down at it with that concerned look on his face again. I'm glad you didn't run out of there after we started in on the French fry and milkshake experience, I said with a laugh. He looked up at me. I'll admit, I enjoyed the fruit smoothie I had with you in England much more, he said, his eyes searching mine. I stood there speechless, knowing what he was implying and remembering. He brought the palm of my hand to his soft, full lips. I do wish to try that again, and soon. Good night, Avery. He looked back at the car, where I definitely needed to help Addie with the harness of her car seat. Thanks for a fun dinner, Addie, he said, and then he slipped his sunglasses on, smiled deviously at me, and I watched him walk like the $1,000,000 man he was to his waiting car. After I buckled in Addie correctly and sat in my seat, we took off and headed for home. That night, thanks to Jim bringing up the smoothie from England, my eyes fell close to that memory. The smoothie that started it all with us tasting delicious sweets from each other. Then I taunted him by spilling the smoothie on myself, and his eyes grew dangerously hungry in his kitchen. One thing had led to another, and it turned out to be the most arousing and delicious sex I'd ever had. I had shivers of desire to feel his lips over my abdomen, my neck, my breasts, everything, while he took and embraced my challenge of licking the smoothie off my body. God, I sincerely hoped this all worked. I loved how Addie had taken to him. I adored the way he interacted with her, and I still couldn't get over the fact that we were reunited like this. I loved being with him in England, and now back in my reality, being with him like this at home. This was the real test for the man I walked out on that morning at his England estate. Mostly, this was the test of commitment, because there was a lot Jim hadn't seen on my side of the fence. I was a single mom, yes, but there was more shit in my life, and I wasn't quite sure that was something Jim would be willing to take on. We'd find out soon enough, I'm sure.
Chapter 20. Jim. My 6 o'clock meeting was going late as I expected it would. We were working with a challenging client trying to go over final details for acquiring their boutique clothing line. Friday nights could be the worst, but as usual I was prepared for it. In my selfish interests, I would have liked to have skipped the meeting and asked Avery to spend tomorrow together, doing whatever she wanted. I didn't care what. I just longed to be in her presence and learn more about the side of her I'd met at dinner with her and Addie. Her daughter was an absolute gem and Avery's mini-me for sure. I had nothing of great importance going on this Saturday and was hoping that with Avery not having Addie for the weekend, she'd be free too. If this meeting ever could end, I'd text her and see if she was open to doing something together. "Listen," I finally said, regaining control of the room. "While I would like to sit and continue the slides and presentation, I've noticed the expressions on your faces," I said to the 2 businesswomen. "I believe we've lost you both somewhere." "We just don't feel comfortable having a company buy us out like this," one of the ladies responded. Alex and I exchanged knowing glances. After going through it, I knew this presentation would hit a raw and very wrong nerve with these women. The presentation had not been properly researched and it was not catered to their specific needs. Whoever came up with this needed to be fucking fired. Alex read the expression on my face and instantly knew he had to find a better way to make this happen, and immediately. If the person who was responsible for this didn't help Alex fix this embarrassment quickly, Alex would be personally letting them go. We were a better company than this, and I wouldn't tolerate people half-assing it with their jobs. I watched Alex go directly to his phone, and until the solutions came in, I was speaking up. I couldn't sit in this room a second longer with these 2 women believing we were the bad guys trying to steal their company from them. We saw value and we wanted to invest and help them grow their business to what I already knew it was worth. They needed our help in expanding like they wanted, and it was my job to take over and relay this information to them. "I appreciate that more than you know," I said to both women. "While it may feel as though Mitchell & Associates are buying you out, I want to assure you that is not the case. In being upfront, it is my job to ensure you know that we will be taking some proceeds after investing in the Chic Gals clothing line. With that said, you need to understand that we will also be assuming the risk and full liability as well." They looked at me skeptically, most likely for sounding like a dick. "Hear me out," I said with a smile. I used the keyboard to pull up their numbers onto the screen at the front of the room. "Those numbers you're seeing on the screen will not put you in front of the clients you're aiming for. My company has a greater potential to do so. We are also willing to use our investors to help you place your line of work in higher-priced areas to gather the clients who desire to pay over $100 for a shirt. We work in this area more than you know." Now was the time to turn into the dick, but only to allow them to understand the value in their own company. Both of you, Christine and Gabby, would not be in this room if we didn't believe your company was worth our time, our investors' time, or my time alone. If Mitchell & Associates believed your company would fail our idea for opportunity and growth, we would not have extended the invitation to meet with you. I pointed back up to the screen. Those numbers aren't anywhere near what a business like yours should be. In my personal opinion, those numbers should be double to triple of what I'm seeing on that screen. I believe you both understand that, yes? Yes, they both answered. Yes, I repeated. Your business deserves to return you both hundreds of thousands in at least 1 quarter, as we have already projected. In order for this growth and for it to happen rapidly for you, it will only happen when we involve our investors, our sales teams, our marketing teams, and so on. You both saw how those teams would be working not just for my company, but mainly and exclusively for yours, yes? Yes, Christine's features softened more. Yeah, Gabby sighed. Okay, Gabby wasn't entirely with us yet. Very well. I would like to ask you both if you believe you're willing to take this risk and go into marketing on your own, search for investors on your own, etc. Allow me to warn you, if you choose to do this, it could cost you millions if you choose the wrong people. We have dealt with multiple clients who have sought us out after almost being bankrupted by falling into this trap. I'd personally hate to see this happen to either one of you. I believe your business should get off on the right foot with a company that uses investors who don't toy with their clients, a company that has your business's best interest at heart. I would assume you would believe the entire nation, to start, is missing out on your fashion line, yes? Yes, Gabby smiled this time. A solid yes from Christine, and I knew we were back in the game. I looked at Alex, who nodded in gratitude. The dumbass owed me a bottle of my favorite bourbon for saving his client. Then allow Mitchell & Associates to do the hard work for you, and you can focus on your creative skill. We will have the clothing line pushed out to the entire nation, your brand buzzing across headlines, and a client base that you deserve. My phone buzzed, but I ignored it while Alex stepped in from where I got the yes mentality going with these young and enthusiastic women. Buzz, 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 fucking hell. I pulled the device out of my pocket and glanced at it from hiding it underneath the table. Avery. Shit. I knew Alex could handle the rest from here, and I was more concerned about why Avery was blowing my phone up. I hadn't heard from her since the McDonald's date, so I had no idea what to expect, but the urgency with which she was calling my phone didn't make me feel at ease. My apologies, but you'll have to excuse me. I answered the phone and covered the receiver. I need to take this in my office. I looked at Alex and smiled at Christine and Gabby. I look forward to working with you both in the near future. Alex will present you both with more information that should help explain things further. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, Christine said. Yes, thank you. It's much clearer now that you've explained it, Gabby said. I'm thrilled to hear that. All I needed was that lively yes from Gabby, and we had this company on board. I smiled, happy we saved them, and I walked out of the conference room. Avery, I questioned, hearing her heavy breathing. Is everything okay? I'm so sorry about calling you, but I'm in a bad situation and I can't pick up Addie from her church singing practice thing tonight, she said, sounding like she was in tears. You're the only one I knew would eventually answer your phone because you pretty much live on the thing. I'm broke down. I was coming back from jury duty. Addie already likes you a lot, and I don't want her going home with another kid's parent if I can help it. Fuck, Jim. Are you there? I need you to slow down. Do I need to pick you up, too? I need you to pick up Addie from her Christmas pageant singing practice, she said. She's there for practice and has to be at her dad's like 30 minutes ago, too. And what about you? I asked, worried she was sitting on the side of the road while Addie couldn't have been safer being at a church. I'm fine. And shit. I'm so sorry to put you in this shitty position, but I'm getting a tow, so I'm good. But having you pick her up will save me from another parent or teacher taking her because I'm too far to Uber back to get Addie and then drive to Orange County where her dad is. So long as you and Addie are safe, I will handle it. Okay. Can you... Damn it. Do you mind picking her up and heading to her dad's house? I'm so sorry to do this to you." "It's not a problem. Send me the address." There was a pause, then Avery's heavy breathing slowed some. "Okay, I texted you the address. And I will be waiting at the house before you and Addie get there. I just need Addie picked up and heading this way. They're closing the church early tonight, too. Damn it, I should have started with that." "Take a breath. I will handle it." I threw her on speaker, already packing my briefcase in my office and heading to the parking structure. "I'm reading my text, and it's an address in Anaheim. That's where I'm meeting you in Orange County, right?" "Right. Hang on," she said. "I'm texting you the church location now." "Try to relax a little," I said. "They're not going to leave a 3-year-old standing outside a locked church." "I know, but still, I didn't want to call you. I don't want you to have to see or deal with Derek either." "I can handle your ex," I said, seeing the address to the church had me about 10 minutes or so away. "I'll get Addie, and I'll have her call you when she's with me, and we're on our way to Orange County." She sighed a huge breath of relief. "Thank you. Can I say I love you for this?" "You can say you love me anytime you want," I teased as I sat in my car, stuffing the briefcase on the floorboard, having no room for it behind the front bucket seats. "I'll call you when I've got the special package." "I can't thank you enough for this," she said in a softer, more relaxed voice. "There's no need to thank me. You just take care of you, and I'll make sure Addie is fine. I'm pulling out of the parking lot now." We hung up, and precisely 15 minutes later I was pulling into a large church parking lot. Addie was swinging on a swing while a teacher stood by watching her and 3 other toddlers in the playground area. A minivan pulled in next to me, and I smiled, seeing that other parents also appeared to have been put in a last-minute predicament to pick up their kids. I stepped out of the car hoping Addie would recognize me. Thank God she did. I couldn't help but smile in response when she broke free from the teacher's hand and screamed my name with excitement. "Sir," the woman called out to me after Addie came running into my arms. I loved the way this child seemed to admire me. I still had no idea what I'd done to gain her interest in such a way, but it was great. "Yes," I answered the woman, taking Addie's backpack that she shoved into my hands. "I will need your name before I allow the young lady to leave with you." "I'm James, or rather Jim Mitchell. Avery Gilbert should have called ahead informing you I would be picking Addison up in her place tonight." "Okay, yes, Avery called to notify me. We must take safety measures. I'm sure you understand." "I completely understand," I answered, while I opened the door to the passenger's seat for Addie. "Hold up, that car," she eyed my Aston Martin. "Darn it, I don't have time for this, but do you at least have a car seat in that? I'm pretty sure it drives itself and turns off the airbags, but it's illegal to drive a 3-year-old in any vehicle without a car seat." "Oh gosh," Addie said, and I could have sworn she was trying to mock the woman. "He's okay, Miss Shirley." "Addie," I smiled at her, "allow me to work this situation out. She is correct. Why didn't I think of the car seat?" I thought, trying to come up with the quickest solution to legally drive Addison to her dad's house. "I have an extra car seat," a woman's voice spoke from the direction of the minivan. "I still haven't taken it out since Connor grew out of it." "I can use it and give it back," Addie said when the young woman came into sight. Addison was so much like Avery that it only made my smile broaden in the midst of this sudden chaos. I couldn't get over how she was so outspoken, commanding, and, well, just intriguing. "This would be a lifesaver. What are the chances of this? Really, thank you," I said, following the woman to the back of her vehicle. She smiled back at me. "Do you know how to put it in your car?" "Not exactly." Her chocolate skin glowed and radiated with her humorous expression. I understood why she found this funny, too. I looked like a total dumbass. "Well," she started after I took the seat she offered. "Safety first with children, of course. Always." She winked while the other woman seemed to collapse in some sort of relief. I tried to smile at the spectating woman, but that wasn't breaking through the stress I'd caused her after not being prepared to pick up Addison safely. She sighed loud enough for me to wonder what I should say to help ease her distress. She eyed my car like it was Satan's personal vehicle. "Well, I hope her mother knows about this car. It doesn't seem too child-friendly," she said, rightfully annoyed. "Miss Shirley," Addie planted a hand on her hip and faced the upset woman, while I tried to work with the helpful one that was occupied by installing the car seat into my car. "Yes, Addison," she tried to smile past her stressful appearance. Addie kept her sass going. "You've met my mommy. You know she'll yell at Jim if she doesn't like his car." "Well, it's safety first and children first," I said, feeling like I would have to pass a safety exam next in order to leave with Addison. Hell, this whole thing was turning into a movement that was about to go up against me and this stupid car I'd decided to drive to work today of all days. "Very good. I need to leave, and you are the last two parents." The woman, Miss Shirley, finally gave up. "Okay, very good," I responded. "Addison will be driven safely to her mom." Shit. I'd closed 3 multi-million-dollar investments today, and I dealt with bringing in a new investor to Mitchell & Associates, and yet here I was feeling like a total deadbeat who had no idea what the fuck to say. No matter what smile I held, I was still getting an evil eye from Miss Shirley. "I'll drive slowly," I said, waving her off as she sat in her car. "You're all set," the woman who saved my ass said. "I'll have Avery return the seat to you," I answered. "I truly appreciate this help." "Just take it slow," she said with a laugh. "We'll be heading out on the 405, and at this hour, that freeway will likely still be a parking lot," I grinned. "Traffic on the 405 or not," she arched a motherly eyebrow at me. "Slow." She finished, and then walked off to get in her car. I had no time to defend myself, nor would I try to. My concern was getting Addison to her mother, whether these women trusted my driving or not. Addie was buckled in when I waved the woman off and sat in my car. "Slow, mister," she taunted, mocking the women who'd busted my ass since I first arrived in the parking lot. "Are you making fun of me getting in trouble with Miss Shirley?" I smiled and rechecked her harness straps. "All right, you're good to go. We're taking side roads, I'm not sitting in traffic, and you need to call your mom." "Am I in trouble?" "No." I smiled and used the car to call Avery. "I'm the one in trouble." "Wow," Addie said as she looked around the car when the phone connected to the audio system while dialing out Avery's cell. "When your mom answers, you can just talk in the car and she'll hear you," I informed her. "It works like a speakerphone." "Jim?" Avery answered her phone. "I'm just now on my way over to Addie's grandparents. I texted you that address too, right?" "You did, and the GPS is bringing us up through the hills. Accidents have the 405 and 5 locked up." "Thank you so much again. Can I talk to Addie?" "I'm here, Mom. You can talk through Jim's car. You're in it," she squealed. "Jim's car?" she asked in confusion. "Is the driver listening too?" "I'm driving," I said. "No chauffeur?" I heard her laugh. "Well, I have to say I'm proud of you. Freedom calls, eh?" "Yeah. You won't be saying that when you see my car," I smirked at Addie. "He has the fastest, coolest car ever, Mom. I want one too." "I bet he does." Avery's voice changed. "You better not drive that car fast, Jim," she demanded with humor and warning in her voice. "I have precious cargo, and," I said, looking over at Addie after we turned down another street. "Should we tell your mom what the ladies taught me today?" "Safety first, children first," Addie giggled. "What the hell?" Avery said. "Yeah, I didn't have a car seat. Miss Shirley almost had a breakdown, but one of the other parents was there at the same time and saved the day." "I didn't even think about the car seat. Did they give you crap?" "Bad words, Mommy," Addison scolded Avery. "Sorry, Addie," she said. "Jim, did they say anything nasty to you about it?" They were concerned, as any good person would be when some guy shows up in a sports car and no car seat. "And knowing you and your car in England," I could hear the smile in Avery's voice, and it made me smile. "It's probably the most expensive sports car on the market." "And why would you assume that?" "I believe I met a man who enjoys cars, preferably Ferraris." "Well, that one isn't with us today. And, last I recall, you almost wrecked my Ferrari." "Funny," she said, and I could hear her voice calming as we talked. After Avery and I got off the phone, Addie and I enjoyed my car grabbing the ground on turns. We weren't flying through the hills. In fact, we were embarrassing the vehicle by taking it slower than usual. The cars behind us were trying to use this route to get out of downtown LA and were likely pissed that my car was moving no faster than the speed limit. Addie had officially named my car the roller coaster, and she danced in her car seat to the music on the radio while we drove toward Anaheim to meet up with her mom. I noticed Addie grow quiet when I made the last turn onto the road to her final destination, and her mood changed some. "You excited?" I asked, seeing Avery standing on the lawn, not in the best of neighborhoods, and I didn't say that because I was some Beverly Hills snob either. Bars on all houses' windows told me there was trouble around this area. It was clear that while this might have been a great neighborhood 50 years ago, it had seen plenty of dark days since. "I kind of want to stay with you and Mommy," she said. I brought the car to turn around at the end of the cul-de-sac while some young man stood outside near Avery in a white tank and jeans. His hair was a mess, his arms were sleeved with shitty-looking tattoos, and he hid behind dark sunglasses. Jesus Christ, is that Derek? I thought as Addie looked at the two quietly. "Next weekend we can go to the beach, remember?" I said to Addison, hoping to cheer her up some. I watched the man walk to a lifted, too-fucking-high truck and light a cigarette. He eyed my car as I pulled past him and parked in front of the driveway. I couldn't park anywhere else because the truck was taking up the entire curb in front of the house, and all I had was the driveway entrance. "That's my daddy," Addie said, and this was the first time I noticed the spirited young girl subdued. It concerned me. "I should like to meet him," was the only answer that rolled off my tongue in response. Avery was pulling Addie out as soon as I put the car in park. I left it running and stepped out myself after I popped the trunk so I could clear out the car seat. I pulled off my sunglasses. There was no way in hell I was hiding behind sunglasses as this guy looked like he wanted to kick my ass just for being there. "Nice car," he said. "What the hell, man? That's a 77, isn't it? Shit. Only 77 sold." "Yes. I'm James," I said, extending my hand out to his. He shook it, but was more concerned with the car. "Addie, go with Daddy and Papa into the house," Avery ordered after giving her kisses and hugs. "See you in 48 hours. I waved at the older man who exited the house, acknowledging me yet eyeing his son. I sighed in relief when Addie forgot about the rest of the world and ran into her papa's arms while screaming with excitement to see him. Then they disappeared into the house, and we were faced with Avery's ex. "So are you the one who's been fucking my girl?" Derek asked, walking the length of my car and then leaning against the grill of his truck. "I'm not sure I follow you," I said, feeling more confrontational. This was the shitbag drug addict Avery had to put up with. The guy did look like death. He acted like he was some kind of badass, and I wasn't going to waste a conversation on him. "Let's go, Jim," Avery said, getting in the car. She went to close her door as I walked to mine, then I saw where Derek caught hers. "Get your hands off her door," I said protectively of Avery. There was no way in hell that he was going to intimidate her in front of me. He could confront me all night long and get away with it, but watching an asshole go after a woman? Unacceptable. "Fuck you," he said to me. Then he looked in the car. "Or is that your job tonight, Avery?" "Your daughter is here to see you. Shouldn't you care more about that?" I said, working to get his stupid ass to direct himself toward me and not Avery. "So you get to fuck my girl, pick up my daughter in your fancy car, and now you think you can talk to me however you want? You're a fucking pussy," he slurred. I glanced into the car and saw Avery's face was in her hands. This loser was high, and Avery wasn't fighting back. This must have been the icing on the cake for her fucked up day. "If you don't back the fuck away from my car, I'll drag you away from it myself." Fuck. I had to be cautious. He was high and I was sober. I couldn't do anything to make this worse on Avery, and reacting to a drug addict that I really wanted to beat down would solve nothing. "Avery, get out of the goddamn car," Derek said, reaching in for her. I came around the car and walked over to where Derek was. My sudden move prompted him to step back after he saw me pursuing him. I stood there and towered over this miserable punk while Avery ordered him to get into his house as she dialed out on her phone. "I said get out of that fucking car, Avery." "She's not yours to order around," I said sternly. "Gonna fucking kick my ass?" That's when the dumbass swung at me, and I blocked his arm. God, what I wouldn't give to step behind his leg and send his ass to the ground. "Fuck, Derek! Leave him alone and get in the goddamn house," she growled, trying not to alert the entire neighborhood. "He's high. Avery said into her phone. "Get him out of here and call the cops. I don't want him around Addie at all. I will leave with her if you don't fix this right now," she said while Derek danced around me like a buffoon. "Derek, get up here." I jerked my head over in the direction of the stern man's voice. Derek threw his hands up and stomped up toward the front door. "Are you okay to leave Addie here?" I asked Avery, shocked she would consider it. "No," she sobbed into her hands after her phone slipped into her lap. "Shit. One call and I can have someone here to arrest him, and we'll all be leaving together." "Let me go talk to his parents, and I'll make that decision. Trust me, he'll waste everyone's time by being passed out by the time the cops show up." "All right," I answered, seeing that this was definitely not Avery's first shitstorm with this guy. I waited outside, leaning against the passenger side of my car. This was majorly fucked up bullshit. No one should ever have to worry like this. I grabbed my phone from my car and dialed my brother. "Jimmy," Jake answered. "Hey, how's your schedule right now?" "Stuck in fucking traffic, why?" "If I needed you to get your ass down to Anaheim, how fast could you get here?" "Anaheim," Jake answered. "I guess if I made it to an off-ramp and got off this freeway, I bet around 30 to 40 minutes. What the fuck are you doing in Anaheim?" "I might need your help driving Avery. I'm in the Aston Martin and only have 2 fucking seats. We might need to get Addison out of here. Her dad is jacked up and high on something." "Holy shit," he said. "I'll try to be there in about 30 minutes, hopefully less." "Hang on, Avery's coming out now," I said. "We might be good. I'll call you back if I need you to drive this way." "All right. Let me know what's up when you can, then." "Fuck all of you then. I'm out." Derek looked at me as he walked across his father's patchy lawn. "Get this piece of shit out of my way before I run it the fuck over."
"Derek, back the truck up and just leave, goddammit. Go sober the fuck up. And if you're not sober tomorrow, I'm getting Addie first thing in the morning."
She looked at me after Derek jumped in his truck, backed up, and peeled out.
"Welcome to my life. Nice intro, eh?"
she said. "And Addison?" I asked. Avery's face was red and stained from tears.
"Her grandparents called the cops on him. He won't be back tonight."
Jesus. I reached for her hand. "Are you okay? Will you be okay?"
"I'm okay now that the front door is locked, Derek is gone, and I can breathe again."
"Where do you want me to take you?"
"Can you just drive for a while? I don't want to go home yet. I just need to drive," she said as she intertwined her fingers with mine. "Your hands. I've missed them."
I brought the back of her hand to my lips. "And they've missed you," I answered. "How about I take you through Laguna Hills and we'll have dinner in Laguna tonight? Sound good?"
"And if I get a call that Derek's in jail?"
I looked over at her. "Then I'll be profoundly relieved that he's behind bars and not endangering lives on the road. Who the fuck drives a truck like that and still lives with his parents?
A fucking addict who doesn't know what the hell he's doing outside of killing himself?"
"I guess so," I said.
"His friend's house is down that street." She pointed down a frontage road. "He's safely getting his fix and will pass out there."
"He's a jacked up piece of shit, if you don't mind me saying so." She laughed and glanced over.
"That's putting it lightly."
We got in the car and headed on our way. I needed Avery to tell me more about how she could be okay with Addie staying in that place or anywhere near that guy. I'm sure she had reasons, but I also worried that it was his empty threats that were manipulating her too. Either way, I told her that I would stick by her and help. That's what I planned on doing, but I needed to know more, or I would have great difficulty believing that Addie was safe from her dad tonight. Or any night.
Chapter 21. Avery. I had been crying and nearly lost my shit while Jim drove me away from Addie at her grandparents' house. I had to just close my eyes, stay quiet, and breathe through everything that kicked me in the ass up until now. Today had been hell, to say the very least. My life was a goddamn tornado, and Jim had just gotten to experience the worst part of it. My emotions were everywhere, and after sitting in jury selection all day, my car overheating and my daughter being stranded, I had reached my limit. I couldn't believe my dirtbag of an ex decided to confront Jim, though I should have. Couldn't Derek see that when Jim stepped out of his car, the man towered over him? I'd seen the biceps Jim sported, and I wasn't surprised when Jim blocked Derek's punch. Jim was a better man than I was a woman in that respect. I saw him exercise self-control that I couldn't imagine any man having after someone tried to throw a punch at them. With Jim's scorched earth look I'd seen so many times, I would have sworn Jim would follow through and send Derek to the ground. Instead, being the man he is, he opted for the better route, the route that kept me from screaming and cussing out Derek while Jim beat his ass. He walked away and got me safely out of there after I knew the house was locked, Derek was gone, and the cops were on their way to make sure the asshole didn't show back up at the house. What a fucking life I had. Jim remained quiet while I continued to pull myself together, eyes still closed. I was doing great until I felt the car moving, then slowing, then moving again. Must be in traffic. It's okay. Just stay calm, Avery. Please, God, just breathe. It's okay. I'm okay. I inwardly reached for meditative and supportive words, feeling a panic attack bubbling up. I couldn't let my mind get the best of me. Not right now. I kept whispering thoughts of reassurance to myself to prevent my heart from racing wildly out of control. I lost my battle against these emotions of doom I was experiencing in a panicked state of mind. My heart was beating faster than a rabbit's, and when I felt the car slowing again, I felt trapped in the vehicle. I opened my eyes to gain my bearings. Bad idea. We were stuck in traffic on the freeway. Fuck. I needed out of this concrete jungle. I felt stuck with no way out, and my anxiety spiked instantly. I fucking hated panic attacks, and now I was my own mind's victim. Fuck, I said, leaning over and burying my face in my hands. Fuck. Hey. Jim's hand was on my back. Avery. You have to get me out of here. Please get out of this. The freeway, get off, I said through my hands. I made no sense, but I felt like I was suffocating and couldn't say the right words if I wanted to. Please, Jim, I need off. I need to get out of the car. Hang on, sweetheart, he said calmly. I have to get to the exit. We're jammed up for a second. I threw my head back, gasping for air, sweating and trembling. Please. I was bawling now. Just let me out here. Jim hit the accelerator and my body was pinned to the seat by the G-forces of the car. My eyes reopened to see Jim speeding past stopped traffic on the shoulder of the road. I held on for dear life. This is illegal, I managed. So is walking on the side of the freeway, Jim said, then veered off the freeway and maneuvered the vehicle through city streets. He stopped the car, and I didn't give a shit where we were. I had to run this shit out of my system or I was going to have a stroke. I was out of the car, taking off like a bat out of hell in my ballet flats, feeling like I couldn't run fast enough. I wanted to scream it all away. I wanted to take my daughter and disappear, never to be found again. My God, I wanted Derek gone no matter what it took. I'd never felt hatred burning so hot in my veins until now. I pushed myself harder with every stride I took. I saw what looked like a park entrance to my right and then stopped to see if my endorphins had curbed my anxiety. I bent over, gripping my knees, and just focused on good, healthy, deep breaths. My heart was still racing, but my breathing was helping me to keep it all leveled out. I felt myself calming down. Enough, anyway, to wonder if Jim had just dropped me and took off when he experienced enough of the crazy in my coping mechanisms, and my life in general. Forest Lawn Cemetery? He questioned in a way that had me look up at him to see if he was teasing about where I'd ended up. Good as anything, I guess. He looked down at me and half smiled. I noticed the man had managed to at least get his suit jacket off and still catch me. I looked over at his brown leather shoes. I'm sorry I just put you through that, I said. I had to get it out. I swear I felt like I was going to have a heart attack or stroke in that traffic. Jim placed his hands on his hips. How are you feeling now? Like I still have to run this out of my system? Well, Griffith Observatory is that way. He pointed down the street where the freeway overpass crossed over. Beautiful night to observe stars. He shrugged. Right. The sensation of being scared out of my life for no reason came bubbling back up. Can we keep running? We can run all the way to Bakersfield if that helps you. But are you sure your feet can handle it? He grinned. I'm more worried about the impending stroke than my feet falling off. I tried to tease. I took off, jogging next to Jim, not needing the crazy-ass full-speed run I'd needed from earlier. My crazy panic run ended with me and Jim at Griffith Park, overlooking the lights of downtown LA. Here, Jim took my hand. Sit with me, unless you want to keep running. Feeling like we're out of that city and on top of the world is sort of working for me, I said, sitting down, Jim following. I won't ask you to talk about it, he said softly. My crazy panic attack or the shit that caused it? I exhaled and rubbed my forehead. You're a good guy, Jim. A great guy, I said, covering the hand that he'd planted behind him to lean against. You don't deserve to be around this crap. Neither do you, he said. Yeah, I did this to myself, I admitted. Are you trying to scare me off or something? What? I looked over at him. I am a grown-ass man last time I checked. I don't need you trying to frighten or warn me off from what I know I want. Your feet are going to hate you in the morning for this. I changed the subject. What makes you think I don't take runs daily in my work clothes? He countered, and I saw the smile on his face. Really? I said with a soft laugh. Yep. He glanced up at the stars. These things are pretty much my running shoes. No shit. Some designer created a pair of men's business shoes that work like running shoes, I said, finding my smile again. For what they cost, I should be able to water ski in the motherfuckers too. Unfortunately, I can't. He laughed. Great innovative idea, though. Honestly, my feet are fucked tomorrow. They're not only dress shoes, but they're also brand new and not broken in yet. Oh, damn, I cringed. Jesus, how far back is your car? And the Avery I've fallen for is back. He brought his arm around me, and my adrenaline started crashing with the comfort of letting myself collapse into his side. Your car? That thing isn't cheap. It's back by the cemetery, most likely on blocks by now. Stripped to nothing, I'm sure. I felt him laugh and rub along on my arm. What about that poor car of yours? Who the hell knows, I said, probably getting diagnosed as dead on arrival at the towing yard. Well, shit. Jim sighed, and I could tell he was in a light-hearted mood. You almost totaled the Ferrari in England, most likely killed your car, and my other car sits back at Forest Lawn awaiting its internment. I nudged him. Let's get back to your car. I still have no idea why you're over here and not in Laguna. What made you change your mind about going there? I asked, my mind functioning normally again. After we left the house, and while you seemed to be calming yourself down, I had to deal with the anomaly that there were accidents all around us. The 5 freeway was the only one opened up, so I just figured we'd take that route and bring you down through Hollywood Hills instead. Then your eyes reopened, and I believe I had taken the one open route that wasn't agreeing with you. Nothing personal. Nothing agrees with me when Derek pulls this shit. I hate him, Jim. Is Addison safe with his parents? He asked. Yes, I answered. I would have put her on my lap and asked you to floor it out of there if I wasn't sure of that. She loves them, and she's also the light of their lives. When Derek is high, he never sees her anyway. They protect her from him when he's like that. Then why bring her to him if he doesn't plan on being with his own daughter? It seems as though you both are working things out outside of the courts. I don't understand. I stiffened and pulled away from him. You may never understand why, and I might never be able to explain to you why. All I can say is that I can't have the courts fuck me over because of him and put my daughter in the system. I assure you that the court would see his records and see that you are a fit mom to care for her, he said. I can't in any way see the courts putting Addison in the system like you fear. I grew up in the system, I said, knowing he should know about this part of my life too. With my past as a runaway and a problem child, I feel like I'm getting paid back for all of it. All of the memories of that scare me to death that the courts could possibly rule to take Addie from me and Derek. My past, his current fucked up life, all of it. Don't tell me that you're afraid to fight for your daughter. It's not like that. I love Derek's family, her grandparents. They're really good people, and they took me in as their own. They stood by my side and still do when Derek pulls this shit. Sometimes I wonder if it's fucked up to keep this going, though. But Addie loves her papa like she should love her dad. And I can't just remove him from her life. I ran my hands through my hair. I know it sounds so enabling and fucked up, but I'm doing my best. I really am. I felt my voice crack. Drug addicts seem to destroy everyone and everything around them while they're intent on killing themselves. It's the most selfish thing in the entire world. My mother did the same shit to my family. My dad, I'm sure, was as torn and distraught as you are currently. No grandparents, as you mentioned, to help my dad or for us to attach to, though. It may not make sense to hear it, but we keep Derek's bullshit away from Addie. She just knows her dad sleeps a lot, but fuck. What if the courts ruled that she couldn't see her grandparents anymore because Derek lives with them? I understand you not wanting to upset Addison. Maybe it's not for me to say, but I sensed that she wasn't happy to see Derek. I also did witness her mood instantly shift from wanting to stay with you and me when she saw her grandfather. She was thrilled to see him, as she's acted when she's seen me come out of nowhere. He laughed. She's definitely taken to you, I said. Can you see why, if we try this out, you and me, and it doesn't work, it can mess her up too? You have to be certain I'm worth it. It's not just me. It's Addison too, and the bullshit of my ex acting like he did tonight. I understand all of it. What I don't understand, I'm willing to learn and be here to help you in any way I can. Trust me, my brother, who is very interested in meeting you, has already threatened to kick my ass if I fuck this up with you and Addie. He thinks you'll fuck it up? I chuckled. Nah, I'm sure it will happen from my side of the fence. Remember that conversation you heard part of in England before you left me that morning? The conversation I eavesdropped on and walked out on you for, even though you'd done nothing wrong at the time? I disagree. While trying to figure out my feelings about relationships, I led you on, and I saw the hurt in your eyes. Avery, if I were still confused about being able to commit to a relationship, I wouldn't do it. If you truly allow me in, I'm not just in this with you alone, but with Addison as well. So the magnificent CEO, James Mitchell, is going to try his hand at dating a single mom? He's going to commit himself to ensure he doesn't lose the one good thing that came into his life. He answered. He's going to do his hardest to make sure Avery and Addison are the happiest two ladies on the planet, too. Addie will demand the moon, and you better give it to her, I teased with a nudge to his side. Jim laughed. I will have to be on my game with her. I will tell you that she's already stealing my heart. I've never met such an outgoing, fun, and confident child. She could probably do my job better than I can. She'd run all of your employees and clients right out the door. Doubt that. She'd have the meeting out of her hands. She's a smart one, like her mother. Whatever I did to grab your attention, I'm thankful I did it. I can't believe I have a caring man like you in my life. Sucks that you have to be a damn businessman, or rather a fucking CEO, though. You couldn't just be the man who ran the small business I thought you did. It had to be some global billion-dollar company, huh? My career sucks, he asked with a laugh. I believe I did exceptionally well today in coming to the rescue, if I do say so myself. About that, I said. I hope I didn't screw up your meeting or anything else. I was finishing up with a client when I got your call, and then I got the hell out of there. Sorry that you got the 3rd degree from the church lady. You saw the car you rode in, correct? I started laughing, trying to imagine what the expressions must have been when Jim rolled up in his badass wealthy guy car. God only knows what those women thought. They thought I was a jackass, for starters. Had me practically chanting children's safety first, while Addie was mocking them from her car seat. You have to watch her. She can be a little spitfire. She reminded me of you, he said. Even if I didn't have the car seat, I don't think they would have won the battle of keeping Addison out of that car. They wouldn't have won the battle of keeping her away from you. I leaned against him. Tell me I'm doing the right thing with this, Jim. Aside from how Addie's treating you, she's not like that with anyone but her papa. I believe you've charmed my daughter and me. Charmed? He laughed. I believe that's the other way around. And if all three of us are willing to admit that, I think we are doing the right thing. I want you to know that if anything ever comes up, my phone will always be on to help you and Addie. Don't worry about if you're interrupting work. That's what I have a vice president for. Call me, and I'll help in any way I can. That's if you still have a car. True. He held me tighter, and I felt his lips on my hair. Don't worry about the car. It links up to my phone. If someone got near it, it would send me an alert. I have an entire app for the damn thing, and even if I didn't, the car is the least of my concerns. Your sanity and health are my top priority. Even now, while your car sits abandoned, staring at the cemetery? Maybe it'll see the ghost you never found in England. I laughed. We never did see a ghost, did we? That was my fault. I got carried away in the library where Henry VIII's uncle is supposedly lurking. I had other things on my mind. Selfish bastard, I teased. As I said, I was only thinking of my own needs when I let you walk out of my life that morning. I was selfish and thoughtless. He laughed. I have no intention of making that mistake again. My only concern now is you and what you want. All I want is to feel this, I said, snuggling against him more and looking up at the stars. Just me, safe in your arms and losing myself in the stars above us. You owe me a foot rub for this, at least. He chuckled and then gently guided us both to lay back. Do you know the constellations? No,